Good evening. My name is Brian O'Shea, as you guys probably already know if you've been on the show before. Welcome to another episode of Investigate Everything, where we go beyond the headlines, ramble, rage, talk, laugh, and get through the day in this crazier than ever social media environment and the real world environment. So you saw the title of the show tonight is Weaponizing the Ignorant Masses. To be quite honest with you, I just really couldn't find the content today. And I realized the reason why is because I was on social media and there's just so many competing lines of BS. I'm just like, okay, what the hell are these people talking about? I'm talking about the Owen Schroyers, the Emerald Robinsons, just everyone's like saying these things that are just not based in fact. We'll get into that in a second. But what I really noticed was the kind of tendency of a lot of these people to say, everything's falling apart. Everyone lied. It's all coming down. I'm sure you've heard this before. What's coming down? How's it coming down? Is it coming down again because the same people say it's always coming down? It's always going to not work out. Someone lied. Trump lied. This person lied. The Jews are in control. Ukraine is bad. Ukraine is good. Russia's good. Russia's bad. It's just this constant feed of nonsense. And so I took a walk. Took the dog out. Went around here in Brooklyn. Try not to peek into my neighbor's apartment, which I just noticed is showing up in the window, and just cleared my head. And I think we have to do that from time to time a lot. And I unfortunately have had some time alone this last 36 hours. My wife is visiting her family. And it's almost like she keeps me off the crazy social media. And then when she's not around, it's just kind of like alcohol. You're just like, just a sip. And that's what I did, and man, did it scramble my brain. I could not focus on one thing. It's almost like it's moving faster and faster and faster. And then I felt myself getting kind of like angry at certain things. I was rage tweeting last night, if you see. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm better than this. Like I know better not to let emotions and facts start mixing up, because then things get cloudy. So I stopped, but it did. The emotional part is the part that I kind of want to focus on. Now, the title of the show is based on an essay I'm writing, and how things are weaponized, how the ignorant mobs are weaponized. Now, when I say ignorant, don't confuse that with stupid. Ignorant just means you don't know about a thing. That's not the actual definition, but close enough. Okay, so what do I mean by this? A great example right now of ignorance, and I hate to keep bringing up the Jewish example, but it's like literally trending through the centuries. These are the go-to scapegoats and whipping boys for everyone. But I bring up the Jewish thing, for instance. Last night, I'm seeing people I know, people that used to be on the show, Shannon Joy for one of them, saying that Zionism is an evil something or other masquerading as a religion. And I'm like, well, Zionism is not a religion. Whether you agree with it or disagree, that's just, factually untrue. That's just like saying, the Republican Party is a church. I mean, it's just not correct. And then, I saw another kind of former friend of mine, I guess, Emerald Robinson, saying that, oh, what did she say last night? Oh, yeah, that's right. The useful idiot quote, which a lot of people, myself included in the past, have attributed the useful idiot quote to Mao, which is incorrect, or Lenin, which is incorrect. It actually comes from a 1940-something article by an Italian journalist who was talking about how stupid the Italians were for siding with the communists. Same meaning, though. And so, I try not to sound like an idiot, like an asshole, but I kind of like to put facts even in X, because the more you know, the less manipulated you are. Okay, but where I want to start the show is just with a little homework here, okay, if you don't mind. And I was watching it before the show, but they have these YouTube videos where like it's one person against 20, and I kind of want your participation in this, especially in the comments. And by the way, my friend Glenn may be joining us. I was really late getting the show set up, so I don't know if he'll be able to. Glenn Tamir, I actually met him on X, and he happens to live up near us in the Hudson Valley. Haven't met in person yet, and I don't really know Glenn, but I've appreciated people like Glenn on X because there's a lot of thoughtful back and forth we have, and then we've had a call, and a couple weeks ago we talked, and he's actually Jewish and he's been to Israel multiple times, so I wanted to bring him on and just get his take on a lot of what he's seeing and how it compares to what his own history has shown him. But why are we having this discussion? I'll tell you why. Because I detect something really bad is going on, especially on the conservative side. I feel like there's a total, and I kid you not, and I'm not being hyperbolic here, but it's almost like this weird communist infiltration. Let me give you an example. Let me call up Emerald Robinson's tweet and my subsequent snotty remark. And look, I mean, Emerald's someone I consider a friend, but we did have a pretty big falling out. We don't have to get into that. My wife and I had a big falling out with her online. We know Emerald. We've been guests at her house, and it's a real shame. I just feel like a lot of these divisions that are caused even at that level, could be avoided with just more knowledge and understanding of other people's views and history even. She's a very smart woman. I'm not, trying to disparage her, but it's very disappointing to see friends of mine or former friends of mine, buying into what clearly is manipulation. So when I say that something dark is happening on the right, what I'm talking about is since that weird Tucker Carlson manifesto, it seems like all of these lesser or smaller voices who kind of promote themselves as conservative or MAGA, they seem to be just parroting that, not realizing that Tucker Carlson lifted a lot of that speech from Lenin, okay, and Xi Jinping. And I'll put some examples of that. It looks like Glenn's going to join us. I got to give Glenn stage directions while we're sitting here, so just bear with me. Glenn, lower your camera a little. Make sure you got about a fist's worth of a space between your head and the top of the thing. There we go. Perfect. Lighting looks good. I'm going to bring Glenn on right after we show this quick video, but I want you, and Glenn, you as well, I want you to just tell me what you see is happening here. So what we have is we have a gentleman who is debating myths about the situation in Israel and the West Bank and Gaza, or as us non-globalists say, in Judea and Samaria. But I want you to just tell me your thoughts about what's going on here. What do you notice about the people that come up to debate this guy? They all tend to have something in common. It's a long video. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but I'll show a couple clips of it. So let me just put that on, and I will attribute that to the creators of this. These are really interesting videos. But check this out. Take out a pen and a pad and just tell me what you see. I don't want to influence you. Just tell me what you see. There is a common trait here. Okay? So let's watch. Getting an echo. You're getting an echo from me, Glenn? I'm going to throw Glenn right up on the stage. Everyone, this is Glenn Tamir. I am dropping him off the deep end right now. Okay, there he is, Glenn. Let me add you to the stage. Where are you? Hold on.
Wow, it's great to. Yeah,
there he is.
The echo's not there now.
Are you using earbuds?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I would say no. I think you're good. Let me just tell you what. I'll mess with it.
Yeah, it's like a long echo
from me.
I'm hearing everything that's happening. I'm hearing repeated.
Wow, that's really weird. In the chat, you guys hearing that as well? I'll contact my tech guy, see if he's hearing it. But let me just take you off the stage. I'm going to play this because I'm not hearing the same thing. But again, I might not be hearing it. Can you check on X and just tell me if you're hearing the same echo there? And I will just get this going.
Oh, wait, maybe I have X.
You're the problem.
Okay,
see, you're the problem. That's what
fault.
happened.
I was
See, I'm pointing the finger.
I was watching you on X.
Glenn is the cause of all your problems.
Guilty as charged.
And if you can, just turn your volume on your mic up a little. If not, I can try to do it from here. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Glenn. And we'll talk about some things. So I'm going to just play this video, and we'll get right back to you. Everyone meet Glenn.
Hello.
All right, there we go. There's I'm very sloppy tonight. Here we go.
If historical connection and indigeneity alone trumps whatever people are already there, then all modern borders... It does not trump other people.
It just trumps what you're saying. I'm saying it trumps the idea that we're colonizers and foreign people. ICE agents right now are currently being trained by the IOF on the tactics to use against civilian populations. They might have different uniforms, but the ideology is exactly the same.
We always talk about the two solutions, one state solution, but most of the Israelis, they're looking for a third solution.
Which is?
Ethnic cleansing.
I don't support
getting
that
everyone
solution.
out of here. That's why they want to do.
It's been more than 2 years since October 7th, when Hamas attacked Israel, killing over 1,200 innocent people and taking hundreds of hostages. The war that followed has devastated Gaza, killing over 70,000 Palestinians. Peace now rests on a ceasefire that many believe will not hold. So where do we go from here? From Jubilee Media, this is Surrounded, where one brave soul faces a room full of disagreeers. I'm your host, John Regalado, and today we are facing the divide head on. I'm here in the center with our featured guest, Rudy. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here. Are you ready to jump into the debates?
Always ready.
All right. Debaters, are we ready to begin? All right, let's get into it.
I'm Rudy Rockman. I'm a Jewish and Israel rights activist, and today I'm surrounded by 20 pro-Palestinian activists who completely disagree with me. My first surrounded claim is that Israel is not committing apartheid or genocide.
All right, if you would like to be the first debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
How's it going? Good, how are you?
So before I start, I want to lay some groundwork. I want to start with a working definition of genocide, some legal and historical examples, and then I want to demonstrate Israel's intent, their policies of genocide, and then the results. So in terms of a working definition of genocide, it would be to destroy, with the intent to destroy a group in whole or in part. Some historical legal analogies that I think are analogous to the case of Gaza is the case in Bosnia, where the Bosnian Serb army killed 8,000 men and boys. This was ruled to be a genocide by the ICJ. Another 30,000 women and children were forced to flee. This was done so to facilitate an ethnic cleansing. So murder under the laws of war to motivate a population to be ethnically cleansed. In terms of Israel's intent, Benjamin Netanyahu said it plainly and clearly last year under testimony with the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Knesset. He said, we're destroying more and more houses. Sooner or later, they'll have nothing to go back to. Our problem right now is just finding a country that's going to take the Palestinian refugees. So they're murdering Palestinians in Gaza en masse to attempt to bring about the demise of the Gaza population, create conditions unfit for human existence by decimating civilian infrastructure, etc. Now, in terms of a policy, we can look to the Where's Daddy program that's being used by Israeli intelligence through a Lavender AI system where they spot what they suspect to be low-level Hamas operatives, bomb them when they're at home with their family. So you can't claim Hamas is using.
Okay, I'm just going to skip ahead here a little.
When most of
If we find
Times of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu quote.
If we find that Bibi Netanyahu has the intent to remove all the Palestinians from Gaza, I am against it.
And you would say that
now
that's ethnic cleansing?
That would be ethnic cleansing.
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, great. So we can source that. Amazing.
Now that
And you
we're
can concede
agreeing
that
that
point. Perfect.
there's a difference between ethnic cleansing and genocide, and that I'm against both, let's talk about the claim of it being genocide. Now, when we look at 2.2 million people living in Gaza, and max number is 70,000 by Hamas records, which we know Hamas is constantly lying of how many people are dying. For 70,000 people to have died, also this is in the past 2 years, there are 5,000 people who are dying from natural causes every year, which is also included. The Hamas number,
The
Hamas
natural causes are not included. That's false. If natural causes were included, you would see excess death among youth and among elderly. You don't see that with the demographic data. The demographic data is actually directly from Israeli airstrikes.
No, it's directly from Hamas.
It's the Gaza Ministry of Health, which has been reliable.
Which is Hamas.
Okay, they've been reliable in every other armed
that
conflict.
Seeks to kill civilians is giving you your information.
Let me ask you this: why doesn't the Israeli military, if the Israeli military was operating under the laws of war, they would know how many Palestinian civilians have died. Why don't they
being killed?
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there, and we're going to discuss this. We might even just do the show of going through this. I think it'll illustrate a lot of points. Let's get us back on the stage. All right, Mr. Glenn, tell everyone about yourself.
First of all, how's the volume sound? I was able to raise the mic
let me turn you up a little bit from here.
Okay, because I think
I
can go up a little bit more, I think, on mine.
No, I gotcha.
All right. Yeah. Oh, my God. Me? Who's me?
Who are you? I met, by the way, as promised, I met Glenn on X, and he has a distinction of being the second X guest that was brave enough to come onto this catastrophe of a show that is never on time and never organized, but somehow we get through it. So thanks for coming on. And really quickly, just saying hello to people in the chat. No echo here. Thanks. Appreciate it. Roscoe, been a while. Good to see you. Shalom. Bra bra. Okay, you're going to have to translate that for me. All right, go ahead, Glenn. Tell them about yourself.
Yeah, Chodesh just means month. So good month, I guess. Chodesh Tov. Maybe it's Rosh Chodesh. Anyway, yeah, so my name is Glenn Tamir. Born in Brooklyn. Lived in America till the age of 40. Made Aliyah with my family in 2006. Became an Israeli citizen, so I have dual American and Israeli citizenship. And I've been living back in the United States pretty much full-time for the last, since about 2021. My family still lives in Israel. I have 3 children there. They all went through the IDF. 2 of them as officers, two girls and a boy, and the boy is still he's still in the reserves like most other Israeli guys. They
gotcha. And the IDF is the Israeli Defense Force. And just explain the compulsory nature of the...
Yeah, well, men for about 3 years, compulsory service, women for 2 years. For most Israelis, there's still a whole other issue with Haredi not, trying to be or being exempt. The Arab population or the non-Jewish population of Israel is not required, but many do serve. Most of them are Christians. Certainly the Druze. The Druze are a very, very loyal community in Israel to the state. And every year, more and more Israeli Muslims also serve in the IDF.
Gotcha.
In Israeli culture, serving in the army is like a common denominator. It's something we in America don't really understand because it's such a small percentage of Americans that serve. But in Israel, whether you come from a rich family, whether you come from an Ashkenazic background, Sephardic, Druze, Arab, it brings everybody to the same level. It's like a common denominator of society.
So there's Arabs in the Israeli army?
Oh yeah. Well, you know that guy Haddad. What's his first name?
The guy that
I can't remember his
the
first
guy
name.
that pinned the other dude down by
Yosef,
the
yeah,
neck.
that was good. Yosef Haddad. Yeah, well, he was a Golani. You don't mess with, the Golanis.
Honestly,
yeah.
I have no idea what that means. So go ahead.
Ah.
When you bring up some insider
sorry.
baseballs,
Sorry,
I have a Jewish wife, but it doesn't impart on me the knowledge.
Golani is one of the elite fighting units, combat units in the Israeli Defense Forces.
Gotcha.
So Yosef Haddad is just one example of many Israeli Arabs that serve in the IDF in the army.
Gotcha. Now it's interesting you say common denominator. So and you've spent significant time in Israel, right? Did you live in Israel?
Well, I the first time I went was with a summer camp tour when I was going to camp in the United States. That was in 1976, 77.
Wow.
And since then, I've been going regularly. I've got, I have lots of family there. Some of my cousins went there instead of coming to the United States. So cousins that I met. So I've been going there regularly. I took off a year in between high school and college. Lived on a kibbutz for a year up in the
Can you explain
Valley.
what a kibbutz is?
A kibbutz is it's a community of families that began, for the most part, as a very socialist society.
It's like a commune, right? Like a farming agriculture thing.
It was when it started out.
Okay.
And there are a variety of different kibbutzim. Kibbutzim is plural instead of, we don't say kibbutzes, we say kibbutzim. But there are some that are religious, some that are incredibly secular. The one I was on was an organization called Shomer HaTzair, which is the guardians of the youth. And they were founded by people who came from Russia and came from Poland. I remember this is 1970, as late as 1980, on May 1st, they would literally fly a red flag on top of the grain elevator, which was the highest building. And it was, when it started out, the kibbutz was a very socialist society. And what that did was it allowed both parents to work. The children were literally raised during the day by a person, typically a woman, who took care of them until they were off going to school. And then they would see their parents in the afternoon. It had a very much from each according to his ability to each according to his need basis of communism as a philosophy, but most, if not all, of the kibbutzim have changed the way they operate dramatically. Most of the successful ones are the ones that have factories now. People pay when they go to the dining hall to eat. Used to be you just came in and ate. People own their own cars. Back then, you would sign out a car if you needed one. It was a much more socialist society, but there's still hundreds of them around Israel, and they're pretty amazing communities. And
I know.
There are a lot of different communities in Israel. See, Israel's divided up into a variety of let's say communities. You've got the cities. Jerusalem, Haifa, Tel Aviv,
Right.
And many of the cities are already mixed, especially if you go to Jerusalem or Haifa, Jaffa, which is really like a twin city of Tel Aviv. There are Jews, there are Arabs living together. And then you have communities like kibbutzim, and then you have what are called yishuvim, which literally means settlement, yeshuv, but I'm not talking about the communities that are in the Judea, Samaria, aka West Bank area. That those settlements are, when you hear the word settlement, you think of that. But there are many, many hundreds of small settlement communities, anywhere from 100 to maybe 400 or 500 families. They're like little mini villages, and they're usually surrounding the towns and the cities. And then you have Arab villages, and that's one of the things that always, I don't know, maybe it's my American background. I was always bothered by the concept of there being this separation between Jews and Arabs in life in Israel, and it's not necessarily that it's not a forced thing per se. Like, it's not like when you hear people say, "Oh, apartheid," that kind of stuff. It's not that, but they live very different lifestyles, very different cultures. And it's something that I wish Israel had made a greater effort on integrating. I think they missed an opportunity years ago by not integrating the schools. Because I think if they had, like in America, it was really the integration of schools, as challenging as that was, that kind of brought whites and blacks and together,
right?
Whereas in Israel, it's still very much separated. Although there are about a handful of schools, one of which was in many of the kids from the community where I lived went to, that are Jewish Arab schools. So,
quick question on that.
Yeah.
When you say separated, is that by policy or just by choice?
It's mostly by choice.
Okay. So on either side.
Yeah.
So like the Israeli government isn't saying you guys got to go here and you guys got to go here.
They're not saying that, although there were some examples where there were Arabs who wanted to live in some of these Jewish yeshuvim communities, and they had to go to court, and the court actually sided with them, and the community was forced to allow them to live there. But
now, were these Arabs Israeli citizens?
Oh yeah, Israeli Arabs. Some you'll hear some Israeli Arabs refer to themselves as Palestinian Israelis.
Yeah, I heard that when I was over there recently.
And most Israelis, when they hear that, they go, "Okay, you listen. You want to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. I'm not gonna." That shouldn't be the the most important thing in the world. If people want to identify in whatever way, they can identify as a Palestinian Israeli. But really, from a technical perspective, they're Israeli Arabs.
Right. Yeah, and what I noticed when I was only there for a short period of time, and in previous visits, I was doing military stuff with their military, so I wasn't really in and among the people. But what I did notice, it really depends on the area where I saw the most and the least integration. So, for instance, believe it or not, I actually saw a lot of kind of towards the border on the West Bank, in the West Bank. I did see, or Judea and Samaria, I did see a lot of commerce going on between Arabs and Israelis. Because it all seemed on that side, once you cross into Judea and Samaria, you're in Judea and Samaria. It kind of reminded me of crossing into an Indian reservation, places I've worked at for many, many years. Not bad, not just different, but for what I noticed, it really depended on where I was, where I'd see a divide or a mixing, you know what I mean? And it seemed where the most problems came from, according to some of the people I was talking to who are way deep in the Area C, they've tried to hire like Arab workers alongside with these guys that run this big farm out there. And it was social pressure and kind of threat of violence against them from their own communities that kept them from working with Israelis. They were worried about the backlash when they come home at night. Did you ever see anything like that?
Well, I did not spend a lot of time in the territories. Mm-hmm. In fact, you know how if you say West Bank or you say Judea Samaria, it's almost like you got to say both, right?
Right.
So what I like to do is use the term that the official Israeli government term for that area. It's called the territories.
The territories.
Yes,
that's easier.
Because,
that's a lot easier.
It's the territories. I have not spent a lot of time there. I mean, I was there back in late 70s. Mm-hmm. I've been to Jericho back then. It was like you can go anywhere. It was so chill. You know, you could literally, like, a Jewish guy could hitchhike there.
Yeah, okay? You know, we were talking about that, and I on X, and I wrote you a response that unfortunately didn't save, so I didn't feel like rewriting it. But you know, I remember being in Oman and then crossing over into Yemen. You know, when I was with 5th Special Forces back in the 90s. And granted, we were there to do dangerous things, or as we call them, live fire exercises. But you know, I was driving a rented VW van, you know, all around Salalah alone. And, you know, even able to cross the border with really not too many problems. One time I did it by accident. But I remember stopping in Salalah in Oman in an open-air market. And Oman's always been relatively safe, but still not as much as it was, just like Saudi is not, you know, prior to 9/11, as you stated. And I remember getting lost. And this is a problem because I dropped off Prince Abdullah, who's now the King of Jordan, and a general from Soxent Command, because we were working with the Jordanian Special Forces at that time for that exercise. So I dropped them off. I dropped the general off to meet up with the prince, and then my job was to be at the drop zone. They were doing an airborne operation, be at the drop zone to pick him up. It was more like kind of like an event, you know. You're the Jordanian, and the reason why the Prince of Jordan was there is he used to be the Jordanian Special Forces commander. But I remember getting lost. Well, not getting lost, but I forgot to ask, oh, hey, where's the drop zone? You know, so kind of a problem. And so I'm driving going, well, maybe I'll see the planes, you know, and I could just drive in that direction. And so finally I just stopped in this like open air market, and these guys are trading all sorts of things, man, like ammo and stuff like that. And so I took off my top, so I just had my t-shirt on, and in my bad Arabic, I said, hey, trying to get to Tehran, to where the airplanes are, I said. They're like, what? And then finally this guy says to me, this guy honestly looked like, you know, he could be like some sort of Afghan freedom fighter. And in perfect English, he's like, oh, you going to the drop zone? Yeah. And he writes out a whole map for me. But, you know, I didn't feel at all the way I feel now when I go to the Middle East, where I'm always watching my back, even in Saudi Arabia, when I do go there on business. And it's a real shame that's happened. And I will say this, despite just so everyone knows, I'm not Jewish. I'm not working for the Mossad. There is no ask when I go on these trips from my hosts. I just give you my points of view. And I will say, you know, for a place that's like a war zone, technically, I guess, is the way it's listed on State Departments, like dangerous, whatever. I felt more safe in Israel than I do in a lot of countries, and than I do in a lot of parts of Brooklyn. Is that when was it? You have been there since the 70s, you said?
Well, you mean in the
But you've
territories?
been
No, I was in the territories several times.
I'm not talking the territories. I'm talking Israel in general. Like I didn't feel unsafe, like in Israel.
Yeah, no. I was there. I don't know, like my first grandchild was born in December. I was just there in January.
Wow.
But inside Israel, there's no place that I've ever been where I felt the slightest bit unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the territories, that I've got relatives that live in settlement areas that are referred to as the major blocks. So they're basically like very populated communities just inside Area C.
Mm-hmm. And just so everyone
yeah.
knows, can you just explain areas A, B, and C? And this is in the territories, or as, if you're just joining us, when we say the territories, Glenn and I are referring to what, the globalists call the West Bank, and which the Israelis don't like that name, and I kind of agree with them. Judea and Samaria is how the Israelis refer to it. But go ahead, if you would just explain.
Sure, and again,
those
it
things.
depends on which Israelis, because I know plenty of Israelis that are comfortable with saying
True.
The word West Bank, which just literally means the west bank of the Jordan River, because between 1948 and 1967, Jordan controlled that territory. So hence that's where it got the name West Bank. But in the Oslo Accords, they when Israel recognized the Palestinian Liberation Organization and the Palestinian Authority as the official representative of the Palestinian people, the Oslo Accords divided the West Bank, the territories, and territories also includes Gaza, so that's a whole other thing. Mm-hmm. But in the West Bank, divided it into three areas, A, B, and C. A is where the Palestinian Authority has full total control. Area B, where Israel and the Palestinian Authority share control, policing, and there have been many times where they cooperated with each other. And then Area C, which is under Israeli control, but it still is officially not part of Israel. In fact, that's one of the points in the platform of Einat Wilf. I don't know if you know Einat Wilf, who's running for. She created a new political party called Oz, and she's running for, with her party for Knesset. So, the way the government, the political party system works there, you don't necessarily run for prime minister office unless you're the head of your party. And in that case, if your party forms the government, then you become the prime minister. And what one of the platforms or policies in her platform is that there should be a decision made, and it should be put to a vote to the Israeli people whether or not to annex, let's say, Area C in the West Bank, in which case, if they did, it would become part of Israel, and it would be treated in terms of law under Israeli law. Right now, if you live in that area, they have a separate system of law because it's not considered part of Israel. And that's one of the problematic aspects, is that it's still, it's almost like the Wild West,
Yeah, it's. So I want to jump in there.
But those are the differences between areas A, B, and C. And now in Area C, I would say, I'm kind of guessing. I think the population, the Jewish population or the Israeli population in Area C, is about 750,000. But
Okay.
most of those people, I think it's about 500,000 of them, live in very large populated areas that are referred to as major blocks. Ariel, Ma'ale Adumim, and there are these communities that are, generally speaking, very close to the border between the West Bank and Israel. So they're
Yeah, I saw a
inside the West
lot.
Bank,
I saw a lot of those.
but
Yeah,
they're that's where most of the people live.
gotcha. So I wanna bring something up
You're
because
muted.
this is.
I can't hear you. Sorry.
Am I? Hello. I think it might be you. Chat, can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you.
That's so weird.
That's
Let me
strange.
find out why. Chat, let me just go to X and make sure I can hear. I know StreamYard's been having issues, but let me just hear if I can hear it on X here. No, the audience can hear me. I would say, let me see here.
Yeah, I lost audio.
Let me go ahead. I would say go ahead and I don't turn up your volume or something because it's coming through on X. You can't hear me, so I'm talking to you. Hold on, I'll send you a text.
Sorry, Brian. I lost audio. Should I re-log in? Okay.
Okay, he'll be right back, and then I'll ask him a question. All right, so I want to put. So I'm going to kick him off, and then he's going to come back on. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Are you still there? I think he logged out. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and remove him. All right, so I see Leanna 213. Okay, here he comes. Okay. For some reason, can you hear me? Okay.
I hear you now. Yeah.
Are you logged in on another device? Because I got two of you here.
No, I'm logged in on one device.
Okay, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yep.
Okay, we're good. All right, so I got Lee, and this goes into my. I'll lead into this, but I'll put her question on in a second. But I think the confusing thing for a lot of people is exactly what you said. The Oslo Accords, they laid out this kind of division, kind of parceled it up with this area A, which is, as you said, Palestinian Authority, formerly the PLO, and that's about 18% of the West Bank. And then you have Area B, which is like a hybrid, right? Like they both kind of figure it out, and that's another 18-20% of, the is that what we called it? The
territories.
Okay, and then you have Area C, which is 60% of the territories, and that's by the Oslo Accords, which is the Europeans and the UN and all these guys. By the Oslo Accords, they gave them authority and control, the Israelis authority and control over Area C of the territories, but they don't have sovereignty over it. And they're called, I want people to understand that the Israelis are called occupiers because they had to adopt the same status that Jordan had when they had illegally annexed the territories.
Correct.
Okay, and so that's why they're called occupiers, because that's the official title. I hear some background stuff going on here. But we'll just ignore it. But the thing is, I hear the echo now too.
I'm hearing clearly.
Okay,
So I don't
I don't know. But anyways, a lot of people don't realize, first of all, the area of control that the Israelis have authority over per the international ruling body on this is 60%. So it's not like the media tries to make it sound like the Israelis just, go in and throw people off their land and this is ours now, everything like that. You can actually apply for a permit with the Israeli government to build in Area C. And a lot of these, what's happening now is there's a lot of, as you know, there's a lot of these illegal settlements being put up by Palestinians. And by illegal, I mean they're just building. They're not getting permits. They're not getting anything. And we could talk about another time, like the reasons they feel they can do that. But, per the very international body that kind of partitioned all this off, it's the Palestinians kind of breaking the rules of what was laid out in the Oslo Accords. But the same body blames the Israelis for being the bad guys. And it gets even more confusing, because if you look at Leanna's statement here, Leanna 2136, July 2020, the International Court of Justice issued on virus. Exactly. And so that's true. I looked it up.
Well, let me kind of interject
jump
just
in,
one second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because there are also illegal Israeli settlements in Area C, and that's not me talking. That was the Israeli government that literally referred to them as illegal settlements. So,
because they just built.
Well, because a few people brought some caravans to a hilltop, and they declared this is a settlement. And okay, let me explain to you a little bit about Israelis for a second. They're amazing people. They will literally give you the shirt off their back,
right,
when you need help, or if you're in trouble. But they're because the government sits back and doesn't do certain things, people take initiative to do whatever the hell they want to do. and the act of getting a permit, let's put aside the territories, the West Bank,
right,
for a second. Even inside Israel, it's a very contentious issue of Arabs being able to build and get permits. The government is they haven't been, and I'm going to use the word, they haven't been fair about the way they've treated Israeli Jews and Israeli Arabs when it comes to land allocation. And I kind of know this because I lived this is
like
in Israel.
The territories are all throughout
I'm
Israel.
talking about the Galilee, okay, where I lived for 15 years. And I know this because I have many friends who are Arabs. And the Galilee is about 50% Jewish, 50% Arabs. And I know of communities where Israeli Jews built a house without a permit, or they didn't go through the proper permitting. And the Israeli government comes in with a bulldozer and bulldozes it.
That's the story.
I had friends like, when you were a kid, did you ever build a treehouse?
Of course.
Okay, so I have friends who literally built. It wasn't a treehouse, but it was like a little shack in the countryside. Wasn't bothering anybody. Wasn't on anybody's territory or anybody's land, and they got in trouble, and the police literally came out there and destroyed it.
Sounds like New York.
Well, yeah, and again, that's in Israel. Now, in the West Bank, I think that, and that's what Einat is trying to fight against. There's no specificity. There's no transparency in the way things are done. Things are kind of. You spoke some Arabic. You know the Arab word khafif? You know what khafif means? Khafif is like half-assed. Khafif.
Right.
It's like I had an old girlfriend, that was her last name. Her father was from Egypt. He had the last name of Khafif. God knows where that came from. But
well, I know. I worked with the sergeant in an Arabic-speaking unit, 5th group, and he was Sergeant Zubi.
So Israelis they do things very khafif. It's like there's an expression that is used so much in Israel, and it's one of my least favorite. It's called yeh beseder. which in Hebrew means...
Say it again.
Yeah. Beseder.
Yeah, Beseder.
That means it will be okay. Everything will be okay. Don't worry about it.
Oh my God.
It'll be okay.
I just got to jump in here because I got to say, that is literally every rabbi I know. And I know a lot of rabbis. I even put this in a post where, we see, and don't worry, I won't detract here, but we see, Americans online, they're saying these mean things about Israel, and, they're hoping, they're going to see this and be really mad. And I said... they probably, if they see it at all, are like, oh, well, that's the way you feel. There's nothing I can do about that. That's your opinion. I mean, that seems to be the character of not to be stereotypical, but yeah.
No, yeah. So basically, where I'm kind of going with it is that Israeli culture has sort of gotten to the point where if you want to do something, you just do it, and then you'll worry about the ramifications later. And when you have such a contentious issue that is literally under a microscope by the rest of the world.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's because are there things like this happening in other parts of the world? That's nothing compared to what's happening in Sudan and in Nigeria and in Yemen, where hundreds of thousands of people are being killed, and it's nothing compared to that. But the microscope isn't there. The microscope is, and for a number of different reasons.
Yeah, I have my opinions.
Obviously, it's a purposeful microscope that's placed there. But for Israelis, it's very real, and and I kind of understand what Liana is saying to some extent, and I guess. Listen, it's my understanding, and I've read the Fourth Geneva Convention. So from what I read myself, if a country occupies or takes control of, let me use that word instead of occupy, if it takes control of territory that is not theirs, it's not a specified territory, they can place their military in that territory in order to defend their own country, but they are not allowed to place their citizens into that territory. I think that's the problem.
Are they obligated to stop their citizens from entering that territory?
I don't think the wording says that.
Right.
But
I mean, you see, I'm kind of illustrating the loophole here.
But if Israel really wanted to, they could have prevented. They could have not built the special roads. They could have not provided electricity to these areas. They could have not provided water to these communities. I mean, they could have not offered land at a much bigger, a much lower price, because land in Israel, almost all the land inside Israel, as well as, I'm not talking about the territories, all the land is owned by the government, unless it's one of those cities. Right. It's owned by the I think it's JNF, Jewish National Fund, or whoever, but it's state-owned land. There's only a couple of communities that I'm aware of where there's privately owned land. It's very, it's not like here in America, we buy a house, we buy a piece of property, you own the land. It doesn't work that way there. When I built my house there, we didn't buy the land. We have a 99-year lease on that lot. So even there, nobody owns the land. But so that's,
But let me ask you this. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think that knife cuts both ways. Because, okay, so they could have stopped things from going in there. But we also know that electricity, a lot of those resources are used by the Arab communities as well. And we know the way the microscope is. Let's say tomorrow the Israeli government said, you know what, Glenn is right. We're going to pull everyone back. We're going to pull all these roads out and everything. Everyone would be crying foul saying, oh, you're trying to isolate and abandon the Arabs. You know, and I just kind of, and yeah, I am biased towards Israel because it's like I see the historical importance of Judea and Samaria, but I also see the strategic importance of it. That is high ground. That is a border. When I looked at the drone shots and the maps, which I'll share those with you online, but of the way these illegal settlements are going up, what really stuck out at me, we got a whole presentation of this, and then I verified it with my own eyes just by going around there, but it's almost like this encirclement is happening with these settlements, these Arab settlements, that seems to be going around as much as it can. Israel proper. There's also a lot of really kind of bad practices with like these huge illegal garbage dumps that they're, really affecting water supplies. And so I kind of I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, it's like, well, if no one should be there, then no one should be there. But I kind of see it from the Israelis' point of view, because if they don't occupy it, darn well the Palestinians will occupy it illegally or legally. And then they have another problem. Because
unless Israel places its military there and Israel determines that these areas need to be maintained by our military for the security of the state of Israel. In which case, there's nothing wrong with that.
Why don't they just do that?
I think that the issue and the problem is that there are many civilians who are living in the area. Now, I have yet to hear an argument from anyone that says that having settlers, and I'm not using that word derogatorily, I'm using it descriptively, having settlements and settlers in the West Bank is a benefit to Israel's security in any way. I'm not saying that having military there is not a benefit. If they need to be there, they should be there. Even if they need to be in Area A, if they need to be going to Jenin to capture wanted terrorists, whatever. If the military deems that it's necessary to protect Israel, I'm fine with that. But I don't see how having hundreds of these remote Jewish settlements helps the Israeli security of the state of Israel.
I do, if anything, and I'd love to tell you why.
Oh, please.
Okay, so just 10 days ago being there, we went all over Area C. And what's happening now with these illegal settlements, they're building right up against like the barrier wall to Israel proper. I'm talking these buildings are pressed against the wall.
Oh, and which settlements? I'm sorry, which settlements?
In Area C, Arab settlements.
Oh, Arab settlements, okay.
I mean, and they're like empty. A lot of these are empty buildings. That's the weird part. They're also doing this thing with junkyards where they're, right up on the highway. And, so I see the, settlers, for lack of a better term, as occupying land that will otherwise be illegally occupied by people that have no good intentions, I'm sorry, towards Israel. I mean, as you know, river to the sea doesn't just mean Gaza. And it means, a lot of, Hamas's own charter means getting rid of Israel. And so it was shocking, but when I saw these huge multi-story buildings, and brother, we're not talking like there's, the border wall and then back in the hills are something. We're talking they're building them right against the wall. And as a military guy, I could tell you what a great way to, really kind of surround and place hostile forces around a country. I mean, Israel's not a big country We saw what happened with October 7th. We saw what happened with the Six-Day War. A lot of those sentiments haven't died. And when I see this kind of encroachment, this war of attrition, if you will, using settlements to kind of push right up against the Israel proper border, strategically and as a tactician, I see that as a huge national security problem for Israel.
Well, but you don't. And again, I'm really appreciative that you were just there, so you saw this.
Right.
I've only seen that wall pretty much from the Israeli side, driving up Route 6. You know, it's a pretty. It looks to me like it's a pretty secure barrier. I mean,
but if you put a building, these are buildings of the size of this 10-story building I'm in now.
Okay.
If you put a building like that and a series of them, I'm talking like up against the wall, like not even a foot of space between them. If you want to breach that wall, all you got to do is bring down those buildings. I mean, that's it. Or just, put them in the buildings and have them, I don't know, zip line in or whatever.
Are you saying those buildings were built illegally?
They are. A lot of them are. They're outside of the permit.
Well, then why did the Israeli government allow them to be built? Why didn't the army occupy that, let's say, a 100-meter space or a 50-meter space between the wall in?
I don't have an answer for you, but it's definitely a question worth asking, because it's grown to the point now where it's. We had Shabbat dinner at this really nice house, but like literally, like it drops down, and then her backyard, the border is, the border to, a lot of the Arab, occupied areas, and so she was showing me the encroachment all across near like the, I forgot the name of the big university over there, and. It's shocking.
Hebrew University in Jerusalem?
Yep. Yeah. And it's shocking when you see the encroachment that's coming in from Judea and Samaria, from the Arab settlements. And here's another reason why I think it's a problem, because there's been multiple studies and court cases showing that a lot of these illegal settlements for the Arabs are being funded by elements of the EU and Oxfam. And you had mentioned earlier about the that big microscope from abroad, and to me, it's like there seems to be something a little bigger going on here than just historical claims and people wanting this land and people wanting it too. It seems like there's this outside influence. I always go back to my feelings that the whole point of the anti-Semitic rise after October 7th itself. And also the, just the anti-Israel, like, let's cut off funding, let's do all this, is to get rid of Israel. And it's not to get rid of Israel because they're Jewish. It's because, as you know, a lot of our enemies see Israel as an extension of the United States. And our enemies want control of the Middle East, as they always have. Russia, China, you name it. I mean,
sure.
Don't forget that before October 7th, the IMEC, the India, Middle East, European corridor was being signed between Saudi Arabia, Israel, between Saudi Arabia, the United States, India, and elements of Europe. And that would have directly kept the Chinese Belt and Road from pressing through that area. And then all of a sudden...
Greece, I think, was the other country. Yeah.
And so... Israel's still there, and it's a big splinter in the side of people that have other ambitions for that area, especially for access to the Mediterranean. And again, I'm zooming out here, but when I see these encroachments being funded and encouraged by outside elements, such as the EU and Oxfam, that's a big red flag for me. And it's funny that you said the culture thing about they'll just kind of, would you call it the Arab word?
Hafif.
Hafif. So what the EU and Oxfam are doing is they'll apply for the permits, and if the Israeli government doesn't get back to them in time, they just see it as green light to go and build. And that's almost using the culture against him. So that's my feelings on it. I'm still digging into this. I don't really have all the answers, and
I wish I knew a little bit more about the details, the specificities of the legalities of.
It's very confusing, isn't it?
It's confusing because it's so complex.
Well, it's confusing too, like with this International Court of Justice. It's like, wait a minute, aren't you the same people that gave them the authority? Now you're saying they're there illegally. It's like, make up your minds.
Yeah, well, any international organization these days it's a difficult situation.
Look at Haiti.
I mean, I think what Israel has never done a good job of is doing what's right for Israel. They have always created a situation where the ball is in their court. Let me give you an example. How many times has the other side walked away from the table when there was an amazing deal put on the table? Right?
You mean the Arabs?
Yes, the Arabs.
Like every time?
Okay, and like in 2000 with Clinton, right, when he was president, and then in
going back to like 1947.
Okay. Yeah. So what happened? They rejected it, didn't do a counter offer. What did Israel do? They also walked away from it. Mm-hmm. I mean, they didn't reject it. They were willing to accept it, but they didn't do anything about it. Now, what
do you mean by that? They didn't.
Let me. Here's, it might seem kind of nuts, but by not doing anything, then they're leaving the situation open so that this can happen and that can happen and these settlers can do that.
Right.
And it's like it becomes like the wild, wild west.
Well, let me jump in here just so people have an understanding, and because I think a lot of Americans who've never been to Israel or really been abroad that much, I think they make, and you see this especially with I'd say the left and the right in this country, where they're very well aware that our government is not in harmony, to say the least. I think people forget that the Israeli government is just like any government. There's competing parties. There's a left. There's a right. There's radicals. There's the far right. Those would be the guys that spit on people. There's the Zionists, the ultra-Zionists, the people that believe that Zionism's wrong because you're supposed to wait for God to give you the land. But there's, like any government, and I just want people to understand this, it's, even though there's the common denominator, and there's definitely a better sense of nationalism than I've seen in a lot of other countries, they're always in disagreement. I mean, hell, I think it's, speaking as an in-law to a Jewish family, there's never not an argument.
Yes, but at the same time, there are certain issues where there is, and it certainly used to be, a much greater consensus. I would say at the time of these, let's say, deals that were on the table, 2000, 2008, I would say the vast majority of Israelis, 70%, were in agreement with the two-state solution as a concept. Okay? And I think even today, the majority of Israelis, if they thought, and they don't think, but that's the caveat, if they thought that a two-state solution would work, they would accept it. Now, what I'm suggesting is that when those agreements were on the table, and Arafat and then Abbas later on in 2008 walked away without a counteroffer, I think Israel should have said, okay, well, we're going to pretend as if the deal was accepted. And we're going to do our part of what we were agreeing to, accept the trading of land. You remember how you know how part of the deal was that Israel was going to swap a few percent of some land, and East Jerusalem was going to be the capital of a Palestinian state. That wouldn't be happening. But in terms of the majority of the Area C, outside of whatever Israel felt needed to be held for security purposes by military forces, I think it would have been wise for Israel to decide to move forward based on those deals, again without the caveats I said, because then it puts the ball in the Palestinians' court. Okay, we decided we're going to do it, but we're still going to put our military where we think our military needs to be to protect our border until we have an actual peace agreement with you. And what that would have, at the very least, that would have undercut or cut off at the knees a huge amount of ammunition that the propagandists are able to use against Israel all around the world. And at the same time, it would at least leave open the possibility of a two-state solution. Not that they're able to get it, and that's that's like the title of Einat's new book is Peace.
Well, before you go too far on that, I'm not trying to publicly undermine you or anything, but when people say like the majority, and I like to look it up. Actually, the opposite is true. According to Pew, Gallup, Tel Aviv University, INSS, most Israelis are not in favor of a two-state solution.
Now.
Yeah, I mean, since 2023, of course.
Yes, no, of course. That's I know that.
Yeah, and so it's just, I think that's off the table in Israel at this point.
Okay, let me stop you for a second. Let's say that's off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are you going? What's your solution?
My solution
to the 3.5 million Palestinians living in the West Bank.
Well, I kind of subscribe to what Caroline Glick said, the former spokesman for Netanyahu, and that's take it and then offer them citizenship. I think that's the only solution. I do, because look, I mean, I've worked with so many Arab countries, dealing with so many internal terrorist groups and radical factions, and even if the settlers in the territories, the Arab settlers, want to coexist peacefully, it's never in isolation. They're never not being influenced, sometimes at gunpoint, by a lot of foreign actors, whether those are Arab foreign actors or mainly foreign, other Arab, instigators. And that's what I found. It's, just like, many conflicts in our history, it's never just like, oh, the Israelis and the Arabs can't get along. It's, even if a lot of the Arabs want to get along, they cannot get along. Okay, and it's very. I've seen this in. They're not allowed to.
What I'm suggesting doesn't hinge on their acceptance.
Right.
But what you're suggesting does, because what you're suggesting is by taking control over the whole area. And I've met Palestinians in taxi cabs in Las Vegas. When I asked them, what do you think Israel should do in the West Bank? They said they should come in and take it over, because we would rather live under Israeli rule.
Yeah.
So, when they're not in public, some of them will say that.
Yeah.
But the problem is, and the problem with what Caroline Glick is suggesting and what you just suggested is, okay, let you give them full equal citizenship rights, voting rights. Now you've got almost 50% Jews
That is
and
the problem.
50%
Yeah.
Arabs. And now Israel, as a Jewish and democratic state, is on the verge of being
No, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
and that's the major argument against the one state solution. Is if it's fine if you are not going to give the Arabs the equal rights and the right to vote, but then you're not a democracy, and that's one of my favorite documents next to the American Declaration of Independence is the Israeli Declaration of Independence. Have you ever read it? Oh, you got to go read it. You got to read it.
Well, I haven't read it yet. I downloaded it the other day.
It's a great document, and I get a little bit of insight into that period because I don't know if I told you that my father-in-law, who was living in Mamaroneck when he came to America in 1952 to study, and he ended up marrying a nice Jewish girl from the Bronx.
Yeah, that's
familiar.
Quite a story.
And now he's back in Israel. He's 97, but he was born in Hebron in 1929, and he was David Ben-Gurion's private secretary after the War of Independence.
And for those that don't know, that is the first prime minister of Israel.
Yeah. And he's always been great at giving me insight into what Ben-Gurion thought, and Ben-Gurion's dream was to settle the Negev and the Galilee. And the Negev, have you spent, I know that you went down to the Gaza envelope area, which is part of the Negev. That's the western Negev.
Yeah.
Have you ever, when you drove there, how did you get there?
Kind of this way. I don't.
From Jerusalem.
I'll have to check what I did, because Google Maps really sucks at tracking your route. And I'll have to check it. I turn on my Steps app that counts my steps, and then I switched it to Mountain Bike, which does an exact route, so I'll have to check it to see which way we went.
Well, did you come from Jerusalem or from Tel Aviv?
From Jerusalem. Well, let me see. Yeah, so we went Jerusalem and then down to the Gaza area, and then eventually up to Tel Aviv.
Yeah, so you went through the northern Negev, and you saw how much space
and
land. Yeah, it's like fields of wheat and whatever growing there. It's a huge area, and according to my father-in-law, even though he didn't live couple of thousand years ago, but he says that area was a major population area of Israel, of the Jewish people. It's a huge area, and
it's a rough area, man. That's pretty. Well, it's hot. That's a rough.
Well, yeah, it's hot. It's it's hot everywhere.
I don't want to sound like a Twinkie, but I'm just saying, it's.
Yeah, but the point is, it's there. Okay, Judea and Samaria is no more a part of the Jewish homeland than the Galilee or Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or the Negev. Okay, they're all part of the Jewish homeland. That doesn't mean there aren't very important tombs like Joseph's tomb in Nablus, Shechem, and it doesn't mean that there aren't significant areas where Jews lived here, over time. But that wasn't Ben-Gurion's dream to populate the West Bank. He didn't say there was no greater Israel concept in his mind. He took what he could get, and he protected it. And his vision was to build the Negev and the Galilee. Now the Galilee has gotten built up. It's not as hot. It's a beautiful area, but it's crowded there. But the Negev, I don't know. Could have put a lot of settlements in the Negev.
Yeah, and I just want to, I just kind of want to, make it clear, that's where you stand. I would say a lot of people I met, they don't subscribe to this concept of Greater Israel. They just say Israel. This is Israel. This is what Israel's supposed to be, and that's So I just want to point that out. Like, obviously you're going to get a lot of people disagreeing
and
with
you
you.
gotta be and you gotta be even more specific, because there are detractors who say that, well, Greater Israel means Syria and Lebanon.
I know. Those people
those people
they were to be the subject of tonight's, but this is a much more interesting conversation. Cause, and keep in mind, the people that say, oh, the Greater Israel, they're trying to, like, Tucker Carlson had that stupid thing on where he basically, I don't know if you saw this, he basically made Chabad like the secret agents of the Greater Israel expansion, and that they're everywhere to promote this idea. Okay, I go to Chabad every single week. I was just there the other day. You've been to Chabad, right?
Yeah, sure.
How would you describe? I always have trouble describing to people what Chabad is. And that's Chabad for
Chabad is it's a cohort, a religious group, that organization that I would, in terms of religiosity, I would say that they're Orthodox, not ultra Orthodox, not Haredi,
right.
And their main belief seems to be to get Jews to practice their faith. They're constantly they're not proselytizing, they're not doing any of that, but their goal is to help Jewish people realize the religious aspect of their faith, and that's the one thing that makes us Jews unique in the world, pretty much, is we're the only group that's a religion and a people. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have Mamdani celebrating independence for Pakistan. It's like, there are Pakistani people, but it's like they've only been there since, like, just after World War II. That's when they became a people, just like the Palestinians became a people in 1964. If you want to, speak the truth. With it's. Thank you. You pointed out to me that you're rereading "O Jerusalem."
I am.
Everybody out there, if you have not read that book, it's who is the author again?
It's two people. Hold on.
Oh,
yeah. I just
read that book.
Yeah, it's great. I'll put it up in the description. But and just so you know, I got interested in really. It's funny. I got interested in what's in Israel because, 1991, I was in high school, and I really had to get the hell out of Maine because there was nothing going on there for me. And I had some great scholarships, but my mom was horrified when I said I wanted to join the Army because I'd be the one. I was the only kid in the family that got scholarships. We had a big family, and I'm like, yeah, but honestly, I'm at that age. I'm like. All the people that went to Bowdoin and Colby and Dartmouth, they're all coaching basketball at the high school now with their degrees. And I just didn't want that. I wanted to get far away. I wanted the adventure. I was a big Tom Clancy fan. So I'm like, I want to get into the intelligence world. And how do I do that? Thank God I had this Latin teacher who was not from Maine. He was a bit more worldly. And, he's like, oh, yeah, you got to go to Defense Language Institute. Long story short, with his guidance, I didn't just join the Army, but I insisted on taking the tests that would get me into the language school because I scored high enough. And I started getting, I got really into I'm going to learn everything I can about the Middle East as I'm learning this language because that's how I learn things. I just plunge into it. And I stumbled across Leon Uris, the historical fiction author who wrote Exodus and the Hajj and all those, really, really, I call them teaser books into the history of the modern Middle East. But then I just kept going deeper. And so after that wasn't enough, then I found O Jerusalem and just really started diving into it. And it was funny when I met my wife, just like when any non-Jewish person meets like people in a Jewish community, they're blown away that I knew so much about, the history of the Levant and areas like that. And it's just because I was just like fascinated by it, especially in the way O Jerusalem is told. Even if you, for some reason, don't like Israel or hate Israel, whatever, you still should read that book, because it's going to give you perspective and it's going to give you some granularity into, on both sides, what was happening in 1948, 47. In the just the second chapter when the Grand Mufti's returning, and and it ends the chapter with, and that was a bad man. I don't care what anyone says. Like, this is the guy, he was working
unless you like Nazis, and
the guy had a Nazi driver, and like people will defend him. Like, that's not true. That's a Photoshop photo. No, it's not. And it's like the guy had a Nazi driver, and then they put him in charge of a few things, and then. It's so well told because they've taken real accounts of the Red Crescent and the Red Cross, all of these journals, everything, and they put it together in this kind of like novel type format, where it reads like a novel. And I love the end of that chapter because it's so ominous, but they get a note and it says, basically, I think he sent it to the British Mandate, who was just pulling out after Israel got, basically the decision to create Israel was awarded. But
the partition, you mean the UN partition?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, when it gets late, I start forgetting
That's all
things.
right, no worries.
But but I love the way they wrote that book, because at the end of that, I think it's chapter 3. This guy coming back is a bad thing for everyone. Like, it was already bad because Ben Gurion is like, this, you guys are dancing, but you're going to be fighting pretty soon. The Arabs aren't going to take this lightly. And then they show the Arab side and they're, chipping away at concrete in Jerusalem, pulling out the caches of guns, like on the night of the decision. So as the Israelis are dancing, the Arabs are arming. And Ben Gurion's arming too. And he gives the guy $1 million. You probably know that, I forgot the guy's name, but he's just like, okay, we got a guy in Norway. We need to get some guns here, like, fast, because things are about to go down. And paraphrasing, of course, but the worst thing that could happen at that time would be the Grand Mufti was El Hajj
Husseini.
El Hajj Husseini Amin, and him coming back is a bad thing because he was never good news. And so then the way it ends is the British Mandate gets a note that comes from, they call him El Hajj. They call him the Hajj, and it's like, which means pilgrim, as you know. And the note has 3 words, and it says, "Papa has returned." And it's just so ominous. I mean, the book is so good. I mean, it's just so good.
I read it a long time ago. It also, as I recall, did a nice job discussing the time of like late 20s up through the independence of Israel, which I think is a period of time that is really important to learn about, because it really tells you how the problem came to be. It
really does, and it tells it pretty fairly too, I thought.
Yes, absolutely.
It's definitely not biased towards Israel, despite it's more like centered on Jerusalem, and that's the thing, and everything that's happening there. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to say anything. I mean, it talked about, I remember there was a chapter about Deir Yassin.
Yeah, I was just reading that.
Yep, which that's something else that my father-in-law was able to impart to me, because he was not at the battle itself, but he was there at the end of the battle. He was fighting another battle up the road in an area called Castel. And it was a horrible battle, and civilians were killed because it was close, urban warfare. Civilians die in urban warfare. Look at Fallujah. I mean, it happens, but there was no massacre. people were not put up against the wall. Civilians were not executed. They died, but it was not a massacre in the strict sense of the word. It was, civilians died, but that's because it was a horrible street battle.
Well, yeah, and I think what a lot of people just don't realize. I mean, about it, and it'd been years since I've been back, but it's just such a small country. I mean, I don't think
go there.
Yeah.
You remember that famous line with remember when Douglas Murray and Dave Smith were on Joe Rogan?
I never saw it, but
and Murray says, "You've never been." You've never. Dave Smith's talking about it, and he's literally never ever been there. And I'm sorry, if you've never been there, shut up.
I agree. I agree completely. Just like, look, I even say that. I feel that way about New York. Like, I have all these. I'm in Brooklyn right now. I'm literally, we live in Little Haiti. It's like, no, there's no mass deportations. No, the Haitians aren't hiding, and, it's like they're not walking around with ankle bracelets. I don't know who's spreading that rumor and why. But anyways, I get these people from the flyover states, as they call them, or, places where it's a lot easier to be a Republican or a conservative than it is in New York. And they're like, well, you get what you vote for. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. No, I don't even know anyone that voted for Mondami. And, and that includes the people of Little Haiti. They would never, I think I sent it to you. They put a whole billboard up that says, get the fuck out of our city, on Flatbush, which is a main throughway. But my friend, Jimmy Wagner, he's a lawyer down here who is Quintus, you know him?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he's great. So he ran a bunch of Republican candidates who I think honestly got their elections for council and stuff stolen. They got 0 votes, even though they polled way above everyone. And they have a court case going on that right now. But, he came on the show when he was explaining. He's like, people don't understand that, to be a Republican in New York, there's different, you got to be a different kind of Republican. Like, you have to really embrace things like mass transportation, community housing, these kind of things. These are necessary for survival here, especially, you can't go up there and say, everyone's going to just get a job and, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and do, it's like, that's easy to say when you're in a rural or an agricultural area where you're not on top of each other. But here you kind of got to be, Republicans here kind of got to be like center right at best, or at worst. And it's like Israel, like you said, if you haven't been there, shut up, because you just don't understand. You just don't understand. And it's like, it's 37 miles from Tel Aviv to Gaza. It's literally near Oz, the kibbutz that was the most hostages taken, one of the biggest massacres. We visited there, is 1 mile from Gaza. People are like, oh, how'd they get in? How'd they get in? It's like,
well, that's a whole other story. And one of my closest friends lives in Dekel. It's one of the communities down there. It's a little to the south of there. So thank God they didn't go in that area. They were focusing on other communities. But yeah, there needs to be, the fact that there has not yet been a what do you call it? Like when you put together a group
kind of like the 9/11 report.
Yeah, that has not taken place in Israel. It's horrible because that border was so it was not a very defensible barrier. I mean, we're talking about literally some chain link fence that you could cut through or drive through with a bulldozer. And that was it. And they were relying on, it's my understanding, they were relying a lot on technology, these cameras, automatic, machine guns to fire, and those were taken out. I mean, it was a big, as we say in Israel, a big fashla.
Well, and one of the things that was interesting, big mess, and we heard one of the survivors at the Nova Festival, and it's quite a moving story. I've got to clean up the audio, but I'll put it up. But he already gave me permission to. But he was actually saved by a Bedouin, this big kind of guy who thought he was a terrorist, and he's just like, they're just running through the field trying to get away, and it's a good story. But what the survivor was saying is he's at the Nova Fest, and he hears reports that sound like gunfire explosions. He went back to sleep because he's like, oh, it's probably just rockets. You see what I mean? It's like,
right. Well, they're used to it there.
They're used to it, and we had a few sirens go off while I was there, and it's like by night 3, I'm just like, I'm not getting up and going down to the safe area or whatever they call it. Like I'm gonna stay here in bed in my nice hotel. Like I'm good. I'll just take whatever comes in, and it's like but you don't see any urgency. Like and there is a complacency that can happen, and I'm not definitely not blaming the victim, but I've been there. Like I've seen it so many times in combat zones. For instance, being in the Philippines, like right after 9/11, down in the Muslim Mindanao area, where they literally had wanted posters for us, U.S. military, and they were doing things like shooting at the wall that separated where we were sleeping from the highway. And it's like the first night I'm jumping up and putting on body armor. By night 3, I'm like, well, they're not going to really make it through the concrete, so I'm not really worried about it. So that can happen. And again, that's not blaming the victim. It's just human nature. But you're right. I think hopefully there is one underway, because that does need to be addressed. Because it's just, it's a massacre of proportions that honestly just going to the memorial, which is, it will affect me till the day I die. And I've seen mass graves in like Sarajevo and those areas, and I've seen horrible things. And even though I didn't, thank God, have to see bodies everywhere in that Nova field, where they basically, it looks like they were trying to establish their own version of Burning Man. I think it was they've done several iterations of this. They call it the Trans Fest, which is not trans as in the LGBTQ. It's the type of music. And because it's out there in the middle of nowhere. I mean, and it's hot, and it's people bring their tents. It sounded a lot like Burning Man.
Right. It's trance, like with a C. Trance.
Yes, trance music, exactly.
Yeah, which Israelis kind of created in Goa, if you didn't know that.
I did not know that. I just thought it was like EDM or dubstep or something like that.
Yeah, no, the Israelis used to, now a lot of Israelis go to like Peru and Thailand, but back in the day, back in the 80s, 90s, they used to go to Goa in India. It's beautiful beach area. And they would have these parties on the beach, and it was like all night long.
And they do that every night in Tel Aviv.
Yes, I know.
Like every night. And it's a shame too, because like the only thing I think most Americans see about, and probably most Europeans as well, but Europeans, more of them have been to Israel than Americans, I would imagine. But like, you only ever see, the only thing they show of Israel in American media, left and right, is Israeli soldiers going into Gaza, Israeli soldiers in Judea and Samaria. You never see the, modernity and just advancement. I mean, Tel Aviv,
that I'm glad you're kind of bringing the conversation back around to where we were before.
Right.
Israeli soldiers having to go into the West Bank to deal with situations between Israeli settlers and the local Arabs, the local Palestinians. Okay, it's if you create that situation, it's like if you break it, you bought it, and Israel broke it. They enabled.
Your opinion, not mine.
No. I'm stating fact. When you listen, if if they had not allowed these hundreds of settlements and couple 100,000 settlers to be living all over, if they had not allowed them to be there, nobody could be attacking them.
Dude, I think if they didn't allow them to be there, they would have an entire like Palestinian country right on their back. I mean, that's how I feel.
No, but again, it's not about. I'm separating civilians to military. That's something that people forget. I'm not saying that the Israeli military should not have been there to secure certain land if they felt that it was important for securing the state of Israel. But once you allow a couple 100,000 Israeli civilians to live there, now you're putting them there, so that's somebody who can be attacked.
So you're kind of saying, like, if they were gonna do it, secure it with the military, get it secure, and then let settlers in.
Well, let settlers in when you've decided the specific legality of that land. If either you decide we're going to annex it, so yeah, let's build our settlements.
Yeah, that's.
Or, but it's too late. I mean, I've been arguing this point for 20 years, 25 years, and I've watched that situation get worse and worse and worse. And what you were just talking about, the fact that most people, Europeans think this, and because that's what they see on the news. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was there in 78, 79, right. There were tons of Europeans who were coming down to Israel. They were volunteers on the kibbutzim, and it was just such a different time. But
God, it is some great beaches, man.
Yeah. Well, the best beaches, you got to get to Sinai. Have you ever been to Sinai?
Yeah. I used to do MFO down there for the.
So like Dahab and Nueva and down there?
Are you familiar with MFO?
No, what's MFO?
The multinational force observers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a rotation that the U.S. Army was part of. So
did you get to? There are these beautiful beaches on the Gulf of Aqaba.
Yeah,
called Dahab and Nueva.
We went when of course, and we went whenever we could. But it's like you're kind of stuck doing the work. But yeah, we went to the ones you just mentioned, and there were a couple others. I just can't think of the name. This is back in the 90s.
You should have been there back in the late 70s. I mean, it was literally a few Bedouin and a bunch of huts made out of palm leaves, and that was it. There were no hotels.
Oh, that sounds like Southern Philippines.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing back then.
Really quickly, we have some good comments coming in. I don't want to isolate my folks here.
What you got?
Let me see. So, Green Berets used to be. I don't think that's true, but let me look it up. Because the Green Berets, they were established in 1952, and I believe in. When was the CIA established? But it was the OSS before it was the CIA. So I think I'm not saying you're wrong, MRK, but what I am saying is that it was more like those type of units were contracted and still are, by agencies such as the CIA. But the Green Berets were not formed under the CIA. It was more like the concept of Foreign Internal Defense, or FID, covert action, that kind of was not only just under the CIA, but really under, like military intelligence and everything like that. So,
so the Green Berets weren't like a combat unit in the Marines or in the Army?
No, well, the Green Berets are part of the Army.
Okay, but they weren't just a combat unit in the Army? I didn't know they were part of some special intelligence.
No, they I'm not saying they were part. So it was OSS before it was CIA. And the Green, I guess they're bringing that up because I mentioned it, but they were formed in, technically, I think it was like they were established in 1952 under JFK. That's why it's called the training area is the JFK Special Forces School, but and then let me see, established in 1952. I looked it up while he was saying, and then.
JFK wasn't president in 52.
No, it was established as a unit in 1952.
Okay.
and then he basically authorized the Green Beret as so he authorized the Green Beret, the actual hat, in 1962. Just because I was in it, guys, doesn't mean I ever paid attention to the mandatory history things we had to listen to when you check into the unit. That's all we got. Like, you check into the unit and they're like, "This is the Green Berets," and you're like, but
All right.
yeah. So, but just to establish that, and yeah, all right. But it's a good thing to bring up. I guess I do need to sharpen my details on that. Okay, K1 is a regular. Welcome back, and no, K1 is using a lot of transcription tech here, so there might be some words jumbled together. But for somebody who was pro-Palestine like myself, why do Republicans have such a big blind spot about the history of Palestine, and why do they promote it? The idea of Palestine does not exist. I tend to agree. What do you say? And we can disagree, by the way.
Yeah.
He might even yell at me because he's Jewish, because that's what we do, and I'm Irish, so I yell back. But this is what happens all the time with people of our ilk. So don't think we're having don't think you're having a viral moment where
The only thing missing is a couple of beers, but
well, really quick, I got a Jewish joke, and I'm allowed to tell it because it's not bad. A waiter walks up to two Jewish moms at lunch. What does he say? Is anything okay?
It helps to appreciate. It helps to be Jewish to appreciate that.
Can you explain why that's funny?
Because Jews are always talking about how horrible things are.
Drives me crazy, man. My wife.
Right.
I'm like, good Lord, man. I'm like, she's a very positive person, but I'm like, why do you just enjoy the day? Like, like us Irish. She goes, yeah, but don't you guys have a lot of drinking problems? I'm like, but we enjoy the day.
but in terms of what Kaiwan calendar, whatever.
Kaiwan is a very good close friend. Good close friend.
Listen. What do you mean? Here's the thing I love to ask people who say there's, I want a Palestinian state, or there's a Palestine.
Well, Kaiwan does not want that. Kaiwan does. Oh. He does not want that.
Okay.
No, what he's saying is,
I'm not following him.
Okay, so what he's saying is basically, he was pro-Palestine. Kaiwan was. Okay. Now he's saying, but he learned more about the history, and why do Republicans have such big blind spots about the history of Palestine, and why do they promote it because they're ignorant, they'll promote it anyways. I don't know if I see a lot of Republicans promoting it, but I think in kind of ignorant attacks against Israel being illegitimate and stuff like that, also fueled by ignorance because they don't know. They are kind of inadvertently promoting something they may not be intending to. And if I'm speaking wrong, Kaiwan, just let me know. And then he says the idea of Palestine does not exist. The idea exists, but it's just an idea, in my opinion. And I agree with Kaiwan on that.
So let me ask you, Brian. Do you think there's a Palestinian people at this time?
Well, that depends, because wasn't Palestine something that was a Roman creation?
Well, no, but that's not. Yeah, I mean, we can go back in history and we can look at all that. But I'm saying, right now, do you feel there is a thing called the Palestinian people?
I'm going to have to think about that, because I was about to cite the United States as an example, but we actually established a country before calling ourselves Americans.
Are there a Kurdish people?
Yes, there are, and I know where you're going.
In fact, it's the largest. It's the largest. It's the largest group of people that does not have a state. 40 million.
Yeah,
Kurds.
but you can make the argument that are the Uyghurs a people? They had a state that was taken from them. Are they not a people?
I don't know enough about the Uyghurs.
The Uyghurs, East Turkmenistan is now Xinjiang province in China. That's the Muslim ethnic
Did they consider themselves to be a people?
Yeah, of course they speak Arabic
They
in China.
Did they identify as a people?
Of course they did, and they had a country that was taken over.
Yeah, and I think it's the same thing with the Palestinians.
Yeah, but they never had an established country. I mean,
but right now they consider themselves to be a people. It's like.
Sure, they can.
There's no way of eliminating that.
Sure,
That's
they
not
can
the
consider
problem.
themselves a people, but it doesn't mean they ever had a country.
They didn't.
Right. So
But
why
that
do you bring
but-
up are they a people or not?
Well, because if they're a people, then what do you do with 5 million people? You can't just wish them away.
I don't think anyone does, but you know what they should do? Is they should lean on, a lot of the Arab countries that, in my opinion, kind of like propagated or just kind of kept this refugee status of the Palestinians going.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's not forget, it was, I think, eventually Syria that gave them, like, travel visas. But most countries, Kuwait, Iraq, Jordan, Egypt, weren't letting them in after 1948. They didn't want to deal with it, and some because they couldn't absorb that many people, but other countries could. And they just weren't, even though the Arab League said, hey, we need a passport. It was called The Politics of Passport at the time. There was a big essay in like 1952 that was written about by some British guy. But, and the Arab League was kind of like, hey, guys, this is what we recommend. These guys need passports. They're a stateless people. We got to do what we can. And people like, who? What? Huh? Like, what? Who?
No, listen, there are...
Like, why is it our problem? And honestly, why is it even the Israelis' problem? Why isn't it the problem
because
of...
it's the Israelis' problem because they're living there and they've got to survive. That's why it's their problem.
Okay, so why is it not Jordan's problem? Why is it not the UK's problem? I mean, hell, it could be argued they started this whole mess.
It doesn't have to be their problem from their perspective because they live a few thousand miles away. Right. They're not living in it. If it's Israel's problem. It's also
of course it's Israel's problem.
Of course it's Jordan's problem too because 70% of their population are
well,
Palestinian.
and they illegally annexed the West Bank as well.
Well, yeah, of course, and they kicked out the Palestinians when Black September happened. They killed 5,000 of them,
exactly,
at least, and they ended up in Lebanon.
And for those that don't know, Black September is he's talking about the Munich massacre of 1972.
No. Black September was
Black September propagated that, though.
Yeah, well, that was the organization. I'm talking about the actual event of Black September.
Oh, okay, no, I didn't.
When the Palestinian tried to take over the Jordanian government, kill the king.
Right.
That's right. And King Hussein killed, I don't know, about 10,000 of them. And
I mean, look, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to, be an opportunist here, but it does really. I mean, let's be honest here. Like, there's kind of a reason why no one wanted them. It's not the fault of the people, but these radical organizations that take over among the Palestinian people. I mean, look what happens. Look what happened to Jordan. Look what happened to Israel. Like, and people will say, oh, it's not the people, it's Hamas and everything. But I'm sorry, man. There was I saw the security videos in near Oz where after the initial raid, they brought a bunch of civilians over, and there's a dude on crutches. I mean, they're looting the place and eating the food, and one dude's cutting off people's head because Hamas was buying them. And that's not conspiracy theory. That was happening. Yeah. That's documented. And it's so all these civilians come over and they start looting around the dead bodies. And I'm sorry. It's I don't care why you're there. I don't care what historical context got you to that point. I don't care. It's what you do now that's either human or inhuman and inhumane. And that's why the only people I think I have sympathy for are the newborn babies in those areas because they clearly are innocent. But after 18 years old, I'm sorry, what's right and wrong.
Okay, but here's where I'm coming from. You can either win an argument or solve the problem. It depends. My goal, and I think the goal should be to solve the problem as much as possible. We can sit here and win arguments, and this happened, and that happened.
I'm not trying to win an argument. I just like to let it fly sometimes.
No, it's okay to win arguments.
No, but that's not my point. My point is, just so you know, my point is never to win an argument with a guest on the show. It's about us kind of.
No, I'm not talking about you and me.
Let me finish, though.
Okay.
I think the point of any debate argument is to kind of share the knowledge of each person with the people listening, and see their perspectives.
And I think that's important. I'm speaking from the 10,000 foot view. I'm not talking about this conversation here or any specific thing. I'm saying I see one of the biggest problems is that people are always trying to win arguments, and they're not trying to come up with solutions to the problem. Like, if the solution is to build a goddamn wall between Gaza and Israel, and to not allow a single ounce of water or fuel or food to go into there, and say, you know what, there's a nice border here with Egypt, it's your problem, that would be doing something to solve the problem. And I think that one of the problems that Israel has gotten itself into when it comes to the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, is they've broken it and they've bought it. They've created this situation where there's hundreds of thousands of Israelis that are forced to drive into Israel where their work is, because their office is in Tel Aviv or in Givatayim or wherever. So there's got to be a way for them to get back and forth. Whereas if they weren't there, you could build a nice strong wall, put the army on the other side to wherever you need, and say, we're safe. Do whatever you want. You start launching rockets, we're going to bomb the shit out of you. And be tough and do it. But we didn't behave like that. We allowed them to sucker us in. That's why we lost. 80% of this war for the last 3 years is the PR war, which Israel has lost horribly. That's not my opinion. That's fact. And the reason, and we lost that war because, like we didn't want to kill whatever it is. Let's say 30, 40,000 civilians, whatever that number is. It's not 70 because that included a lot of fighters, but whatever that number is, no Israeli wants to kill any civilian. I know that because I've met hundreds of these soldiers. That's not their goal.
And these soldiers are so young,
But we made the decision to go in there to do that, and I'm not saying that was wrong, but what it's what Hamas wanted. It's what they wanted us to do that, because now they've won 80% of the battle, which is the PR war around the world.
Are you talking about Gaza now, or the
Yeah,
West
I'm
Bank?
talking about the war in Gaza.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
We played right into their hand. I'm not, it was an option. We could have, on October 8th, we could have just said, okay, not one drop of water, not one piece of food, no fuel going in until you release those hostages. And if you fire a rocket, we're going to fire 100 times back at you.
Didn't they kind of do that, though? They did cut off a lot of that stuff and fire a ton of rockets. And then granted, I agree with you on the PR war, and I've got some insight into that. We can't talk about it tonight. We have to talk about it offline. But I know the guy that does social media content for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it was very insightful what he told me. But we could talk offline. I'll just put it this way: all the best laid plans go to hell. when everyone wants their message put in there too. Let's just leave it at that, but you see what I mean? Like when it's a hot topic, like it's a favorite type of area is like the social media. And of course, in any government bureaucracy, everyone wants to get their message out, and everyone they have the good. And depending on who you are, it's like if you're running that and people outrank you, you kind of gotta put everyone's message out, which is a problem. But back to what you're saying. I mean, I agree with you.
Israel was attacked by Gaza. Why are they obligated to feed those people?
Well, that's what and I mean, but so I've made this argument before, and it's like, and I agree with you. Like, I would let them starve, but what I have noticed is that, like, I think that was an attempt at soft propaganda. I think there's some actual kind of mitzvah type of root to that. Am I incorrect in saying? And mitzvah, you could probably explain that better than I could.
Well, a mitzvah is a good deed, but we're talking about war here. If you're attacked,
I agree.
If one country is attacked by another, is that country that was attacked obligated to feed and
kind of
attack them?
Kind of, because
I don't think so.
You're not obligated to feed the soldiers that attacked you. However, at least by the Geneva Convention, and I'm totally paraphrasing, for instance, we were taught that you shoot everything, everything that's shooting at you. But the minute, if there's a guy on the ground bleeding and it's the enemy, the minute you step over him, that's American territory. So now you're obligated to save that life. So I don't know what rules the Israelis are playing on. I agree with you. I never understood. They kind of bend over backwards, like after the fact, to like feed people and everything. But I just don't understand.
Egypt could have fed them.
Egypt could have opened their borders.
Of course they could have.
Yeah.
And I think Israel erred in not putting the proper pressure on Egypt.
Well, how about we erred too? Like, I mean, on it, like,
yeah.
Like we give Egypt $1.9 billion a year. Open up your freaking borders, man, and it's like, and help the PR campaign against our other ally. That's what I'd say.
Did you ever, like 2 years ago, I posted a map of where I thought the international community, led by America could have forced the issue of. Are you familiar with the area in Sinai on the other side of the border from Gaza where the Rafah crossing is?
Yes.
That area is like just barren, desert-like, and it's 175 miles from the Egyptian mainland. Mm-hmm. They could have easily constructed a tent city that could have housed every civilian from Gaza. And they could have allowed them to go there so that, but that's where American leadership should have been.
Well,
that's where America should be able to say, listen, we're going to do this, or else this is not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but look who we had.
Oh, well, hey, I mean, come on. You're not going to get an argument with me there.
Yeah, I mean, look what we had, and then. Trump before him, I've always been a fan of Trump, but like before him, that first 4 years, he was just figuring out how swampy the swamp is and got screwed over by everyone, as we know with Fauci.
Right.
And then they had 8 years of Obama, who was pretty much.
But then again, when October 7th happened, and immediately thereafter, for almost 2 years, I guess.
Didn't do anything.
There was, the Biden administration. And I'll never forget when Biden made that trip to Israel, and he hugged Netanyahu when he got off the plane. I remember these idiots at I-24. Oh, look at how much just wait about a month or two, and they're gonna. And then of course Biden held up weapons going to Israel, and it was horrible.
Netanyahu, like, people disregard him a lot, but like he's probably one of the most skilled statesmen, or out there. Like, he's got the most experience than anyone, whether you like him or hate him. But like, he knows the game, and I just remember seeing his face when Biden hugged him. Kind of like, it'd be like if I hugged my friend Mike, who runs the local motorcycle gang. Like, I would never do that. And it's like, he's just like, right, we're hugging, okay. But that was a travesty, and it's, unfortunately, it was on the Biden administration. It was a Susan Rice run on behalf of Obama administration, and and they're no friends of Israel because they see Israel as part of the imperialist power of the United States. And of course, if you're communist, you got to smash imperialism. That's not Biden. Biden was thinking about tapioca and Matlock at 5 p.m. So, that was his only goal of every day. But
well, speaking of the sports analogy, if you're the coach and your team suffers the biggest defeat in your team's history,
yeah,
what happens to the coach?
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, so that happened October 7th. I'm sorry, happened under Netanyahu's watch. His policies led to the strengthening of Hamas. That's like not my opinion. I mean, that's fact. He spoke about how he used them as a lever against the Palestinian Authority. He enabled billions of dollars to go into Hamas.
I need to just, for the record, this is you saying it, not me, because I haven't looked into that recently. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I hear from commentators in Israel. It's not like I have this knowledge. I listen to what people,
Yeah,
people,
but you can
I
look
listen
it up.
to people.
Come on, man. Come on, you're on Investigate Everything. Come on, you know how we roll here.
Yeah, well, of course, but I know that it's a fact,
right?
That that Netanyahu enabled billions of dollars to go from Qatar into Gaza. Now, did he do that for certain reasons? Yeah, I'm sure he did, but he did. And I find it very hard to believe that Israel did not know the extent of the tunnels and that whole system. Although, do you know who Yossi? What was his name? Yossi Cohen was. Yossi Cohen was the head of the Mossad for about 10 years. Prior to October 7th, and I've heard him speak, and he told the government, i.e. Netanyahu, he didn't say Netanyahu, but he said, I told the government that we had horrible intel going on and we needed to improve our intel. I put a proposal together and I was turned down. And this was the head of the Mossad, Yossi Cohen. So this is not someone from Haaretz, writing an article. So listen, the bottom line is,
I think we should put a pin in that one, because it's like, we need to see, okay, what was going on with Yossi Cohen, who was he aligned with? There's so many different factors there. It's not like, it's been my experience that when things are turned down, they're turned down for a reason. It could be a bad reason, it could be a good reason. But I think before we make a judgment, it'd actually be a great ongoing project of research, if they're not going to give us a 9/11 style report, to look into it responsibly, unlike the way the kind of like flat earthers look into everything. Because like, maybe Yossi Cohen had some other things that were untrustworthy. Maybe the proposals weren't good. Improving intelligence, what's that mean? You know what I mean? It's like,
well, obviously, if there were two possibilities. We had horrible intelligence. We didn't know what they were doing. We didn't know what they were building. We didn't know what they were planning, or we did, and we let the situation get to the point where it happened. Those are the two possibilities.
well, let's revisit that, because there's always more than one, more than two possibilities. Because, and this is coming from an Intel background, where like,
yeah, I'm
having
respect
worked,
that you have that.
Yeah, and thank you. Having worked in the Mossad equivalent for a long time, it's like you see on the outside what people say, well, how could they not know about 9/11? They had to know. They let it happen. And like I heard, these are the same things we heard that people say about October 7th. And having been on, well, at the time I was in the military, but then later on but I was under a TS clearance too, so I had a lot of access. But then going into the agencies, it's like, it's such a mess. Like, of course, like...
Yeah, but let me just stop you for a second, because the planning of 9/11, although I don't have any inside information on that, but the planning of 9/11 was extremely different than the planning of October 7th. I mean, the planning of October 7th took so much skill and money.
Lots of skill and money, but don't forget that we had 20 upper middle class Arabs from 3 different countries coming to America and learning to fly airplanes but not land, which that's all a fact. But the problem turned out to be siloing of intel. Wasn't that?
But I'm talking about building a tunnel system that's like 1.5 times the London Underground.
Oh my God, what are you talking about? Like, look at like Mexico. Like, there's literally equivalent sized tunnels that they just discovered, for the cartels to use. And it's
the extent of what Hamas built in Gaza. The size of the London of the like.
You should see them. Yes, they look like the airport terminals. Like, you could drive cars in some of these things, and it's, and I've seen the tunnels that Gaza had built, which, by the way, rumor has it, had some Chinese engineering behind them.
No doubt.
And
equipment, I'm sure, as well, that they brought in probably through Egypt.
I hear what you're saying. Let's just, I'm not trying to, mute you. I'm just saying, let's put a pin in that one, because, now you got my Intel gears going, and I want to dig into it, no pun intended. But that was a good pun, but no pun intended. But it's like, and the sad part about it is the innocent Gazan, children and stuff, that at least in Israel, if a freaking siren goes off, anyone can get in the safe area of the bunker. Arab, Jew, doesn't matter. Everyone just crowds in. And in Gaza, oh no, only Hamas is in there. Everyone else outside, because they want the civilian casualties.
Of course.
They don't want to, use up their resources. And it's really sad, because I'll tell people, those Gaza tunnels, not that I've been in them personally, but I've seen enough on them. They are an engineering marvel, and they're far better place to be hiding from bombs than the Israeli safe spaces, for sure. Which sometimes the safe spaces are the equivalent of cinder block things that kind of look like the outdoor restrooms in Central Park. It's just a structure over your head. I mean, in my hotels they had really nice ones, but not like those tunnels. Certainly not like those tunnels. Those things, people should understand, these are not like those dirt tunnels that you see in some of the hostage videos. These are like Chicago O'Hare, going through between concourses. I mean, they're big, so I hear what you're saying. It's like, how could they not know such things were being built? And that's a good question. We should definitely dig into. I hate you. I'm going to stop that. We should definitely look into it more, because that is a good. I hadn't thought about that. The planning, I could see them not detecting that, depending on multiple factors, but the tunneling is quite a thing. That's a big undertaking. How,
and also remember, it's not like October 7th happened after 20, 30 years of there were wars in between. My son was a commander in it was called Tzuk Eitan in 2014. And there were several times where they mowed the lawn. Is the expression that they use. But
that was us in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Well, and the hey, can you explain? Totally different subject,
that?
but you saw this little fight between the guy, the what was his name, the Golani, or
the guy that came after Haddad. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he was such a moron. I remember when he was debating Nick Matau, and he didn't understand that the word Ivrit was
Hebrew. I saw that. That was
Hebrew for the word God. Hebrew.
What's dumb about these guys, and this is kind of what, I'm definitely going to do I'm going to do the episode about the ignorance, because it seems like it's growing, and I hate to say it, but it's like it's growing on the right, but it's also growing on the left, and it seems to be not center left and right, but like just that one step removed. It's like
it's a horseshoe. It's a horseshoe.
It's definitely a horseshoe, and it's like it's getting stupider. Like. And it's not stupid because you don't know. That's fine. If you don't know, like I was taught a long time ago. We do these Soldier of the Month boards, and they would train you to say, and it's like a big trivia contest but you're being evaluated to get promoted, and it's a very serious thing. But if you don't know, you don't know. You just say, I do not know. But they were training us for a while to say, I do not know, but when I have the answer, I'll get back to you, Sergeant. And I said that one time, and someone turned the tables on. The sergeant says, good, I want that answer by 6 o'clock tonight. So now I got this other thing on my day. I'm like, shit, now I got to get him the answer. Where then I was taught, you just don't know, you just don't know. You certainly don't. I mean, the guy with the language, first of all, he doesn't, it's Hebrew word, right?
Yeah, Ivrit is the Hebrew word for Hebrew.
And I'm and I'm guessing that guy who was arguing it doesn't speak Hebrew, and I'm like, dude, tap. I'm always yelling at the screen when I see those things. I'm like, tap out, you're cooked, you're done, it's over, it's okay. People will forget when you say, I didn't know that. They will forget that. They won't forget when you sit there arguing a point that's inarguable, or like the guy the other day, he got punked by a guy half his size. Okay, it happened, let it go. Instead, he follows him into the parking lot and gets punked again. And it's just like he made an ass of himself. And I think that's what I'm talking about when I say ignorance and stupidity. It's not that people don't know. That's one thing. That's correctable. But if you don't know, don't pretend you know. And let me give you an example. My ears still burn when I tell this story. I remember getting into Defense Language Institute, which is unlike any other training place in the military, because you have people of all ages. Some people have been in the military for a while. State Department sends their people there. I'm a brand new soldier, haven't even been to, just right out of boot camp. And I got a variety of Air Force, Navy, all in my same classroom. It's about 12 people. And I'm from little Maine, and little rural Maine, and, I didn't think I had that interesting of a story. And of course I don't. I'm 18. And, but this one guy, Joe, he's an older guy, nice guy. He's like telling how he used to work on a cruise ship before he went into the Army. He was in a band on a cruise ship, and then just on a whim decided to join the military. I'm guessing he had like a party and decided to join while he was drunk, but who knows? And he's from Hawaii, and he goes into talking about how, it's surfing, and the girls are just wooing at that. And this is kind of like that older guy that the chicks like, And I'm, as a young, immature idiot, I'm like, man, I got to be as cool as Joe. So it came my time to tell the story. I'm from Maine. And I start talking about how I surf. And I was totally lying. And I'm thinking, yeah, they're going to think I'm cool too. And I'll never forget it. And Joe, who's super nice, he goes, Brian, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to embarrass you, and that's not my intent, but I grew up on surfing. I was surfing when I was 3. I'm a world-class surfer. I was a surfing instructor. I still am. He goes, I could tell from listening to you for 5 seconds, for 5 minutes, you haven't spent 5 seconds on a surfboard. And I just remember, and I had that moment, and I made the right decision, but I was thinking, God, I was a little mad, like I'll show him, I'll outlie him. And then I said, and I look around and everyone has that look like they knew I was full of shit anyways. And I go, you know what? You're right. I don't even know why I said that. I think I was just trying to look cool. And thank God I had the wherewithal to say that. But everyone forgot that. Everyone forgot that happened. No one ever talked about that. But can you imagine how bad it would have been if I tried to double down on Joe, the surfing god? And I was thinking about that with these debates where you see people just don't tap out when they clearly don't know. It's like you
now,
don't
know. Let me ask you, do you think it's that they know that they don't know, or that they think they know?
No, I think they know they don't know, but I think a lot of people have so much hubris that they think they can win just through their wily conversation skills. I don't know. I mean, I saw this with Shannon Joy just last night, who's I know her. She used to be part of the Daily Cloud Network, but we've met. Yeah, we've been friends, but. Even I told her last night, I was like, Shannon, tap out, because she said something ridiculous like, Zionism is an atheist, so and so. Did you see my response?
Yes, I did. I saw that.
Masquerading as a religion. I'm like, Zionism is not a religion. I mean, right there, you're done. You're cooked. It's over. You're in an arm bar. The guy that knows better jujitsu, he's going to break your arm. And that's what her audience did. They just hammered her, and she wouldn't throw in the towel. She's like, well, that's what I meant. But that's not what I meant. Exactly that. People are like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And she clearly didn't. Well,
I think that a lot of these people, and I'm sure she's one of them.
Yeah, what do you think? You've got a couple years on me. What's your wisdom tell you?
Well, what's telling me is that they listen to certain people like Bloom, what's his name? Max Blumenthal. And
he's the worst.
And even Dave Smith, and they listen to people who sound like they know what they're talking about, and they sound intelligent, and believing them enforces or reinforces their own biases, their own bias. So they just believe them, and they think that they are telling the truth. So they go ahead and they repeat it because they think it's another, there's this whole thing, it's my truth and your truth. And of course, there's no such thing. It's either the truth or
there's only one truth. There's only one truth.
Yeah. Exactly. But I honestly think that a lot of these people, just because of their level of ignorance, that they didn't bother to research things,
well, they don't.
To read books, to listen to other people. Like, I've listened to those people. I've listened to Dave Smith. I've listened to Max Blumenthal.
Yeah, Blumenthal, do you know who his dad is?
Oh, well, yeah.
Sidney Blumenthal. That was Hillary Clinton's top advisor and the guy who coined the phrase vast right-wing conspiracy.
Yeah, and Max Blumenthal also was a reporter for Al Arabiya.
Yes.
I mean, it's, which...
Interesting.
Yeah. So
but
I think these people really do think that those people are stating fact, because they do a very nice job making it sound true.
Yeah. Well, and I think another problem is, and this is, I think, a unique problem to the last 6 years, people like Kim Iverson, who came over from the Hill, came over from the left, Max Blumenthal, what's the guy that leads a Nation of Islam guy? We follow each other.
Mehdi Hassan? Not Mehdi
No,
Hassan.
not Mehdi Hassan. No. Good God, no. I would not insult the Nation of Islam with that one. But anyways, the guy that leads, good guy, but he was, but all of these people were on the stage fighting mandates, okay? And they were all against vaccine mandates in general, which is a good thing, and my wife was on that stage with them. My wife was, at an LA thing with Malone was there, and then, Max Blumenthal was there, Kim Iverson was there. But the thing is, people forget that just because they were good for that battle doesn't mean they're good for the whole war. Because you have to take people like, okay, they were against, it fits their worldview that they be against mandates, left or right, it doesn't matter. But then when it comes to getting Trump in office or, being for or against Israel, they're going to have drastically different views. And I think for people like Max Blumenthal, must have been like, honestly, like he's the only shark in the water, because a lot of people in the MAGA movement are relatively new to the nuances of like geopolitical social media debates and all that. He's an old hat. He's, old hand at it. And
MAGA or Maha?
MAGA, Maha, take your pick. But what I'm saying is probably more MAGA than Maha, but because a lot of the Maha came from the center and the left, but and the whole Southern California crowd. But the point is, like, for Max Blumenthal, it's like he's getting platformed by people like, yeah, I knew Max. He was at that anti-vaccine rally. He's a good guy, and it's like, well, he's good for that, but is he good for this?
Well, intersectionality is horrible.
Yeah.
Wherever it is, and because it doesn't, it just blurs lines between truth and.
Well, and look, an honest actor, if Max Blumenthal was an honest actor, he'd tell these guys before going on their Rumble show and stuff, because I was screaming at the top of my lungs for the last 2 years. I'm like, it's Max Blumenthal, you idiots. Like, do you know what he is? And, an ethical actor would have said, hey, just so you know, I totally disagree with you on all of this stuff, and I'm going to say it if you put me on your show. That's what I would say if someone was, and I've said that. Mm-hmm. But not him. He's just like, yeah, sure, man. And then he starts manipulating their audience to the point where we're at now, where like a lot of them are espousing pro-Assad views without even knowing it, pro-Syrian nationalist communist views without even knowing it, pro-Dugan multipolarity fourth political theory BS, and they don't even know they're doing it. And I'm like, guys, wake up. You got to do the heavy lifting. You can't just be a podcaster forever without doing the heavy lifting. You can't be an influencer unless you're filling your mind with some knowledge, and it's like, you sound like you're a lot like me. Like me, Naomi sounds like you. A lot of the people I know that I can have good conversations like this with, we read every day and a lot of stuff. Like, I will listen to like the space I was on as background, and I just happened to jump on it. But like, I'm not getting my news from a podcast. I'm basically figuring out like how people are messaging things. That's why I listen to Left and Right podcasts. Mm-hmm. But I'm not depending on even Dan Bongino, who I like, or Solomon, who actually has some good investigative journalism. That's not my news source. That's just my lead source, or my messaging pattern source, if you will.
Yeah, I think there are certain people who you can get a lot of good quality information from podcasts. I think you have to be, like in terms of the Israel, Middle East, you have people like Haviv Redigur, who, while he certainly comes from a left perspective over time, he is incredibly knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. And everything is... he'll tell you if
the guy that you got me listening to now? The Ask Aviv.
Yeah, his podcast, Ask Haviv Anything, and he brings on some really good guests.
When he seems more like almost center left, if I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, that's how I would definitely call him center left. There's not a big center in Israel. You've got people.
Interesting.
There are a few people like Haviv, like Einat Wilf, like Dan Shuftan, who calls himself an extreme centrist. There are people who you can listen to who know a lot, and they have a lot of historical knowledge, and sometimes they will give their opinion on things. Right. But you can learn from that, as that's their opinion. You know when it's an opinion and when it's fact. They make it very clear. It's the ones who don't, like Tucker's probably the greatest example of blurring those lines, and he's like master of it.
But you know what the good ones have in common and the bad ones also have in common?
What's that?
The bad ones, like Tucker, and I think this is probably a pattern, they don't really have a skill set. Think about it. Like, take Dan Bongino. His skill set is in law enforcement, security, running things like the FBI, doing Secret Service work. Like, his core knowledge started there, and then he grew into this influencer role.
Right.
You take, Tim Pool's a great example. He kind of is the guy that turned Vice into a news platform. Like, he was kind of homeless, actually, and he just had a knack for news and, really worked his way up in news. My wife, she's a high academic and a multi, book best-selling Times winning author. She has a base. Whereas, like, you take someone like Tucker or like, I don't know who's some of the other bad ones, like Smith, like not even
Smith, right.
not a great comedian, and it's like, a lot of these influencers that are just influencers and don't seem to have a core expertise in anything. And I think that, seems to be the pattern now. I've just thought about that now, but it seems to be the thing. Like, what do you got? Without this, what do you have?
Well, the only thing Tucker has is ability to use to be persuasive and to use his language in a way that it can be very convincing because of the way he paces his dialogue, and he throws lies. He'll throw a little kernel of truth in there and surround it by a pack of lies, and he's very. It's like people talk about how he's probably been hypnotized by Dugan. That's one of the.
No, I think he's just a mercenary. Like, I think he knows exactly. I don't think Tucker's easily hypnotized by anyone. I don't think he buys into any. I don't think he has any ideals. I think, and I heard this from his former producer, not the dude, but the girl that has her own show. I forgot her name, but she was saying it. She's like, I work for him. Like, it's about money. Like, it's about money, and I just don't. And I've met Tucker Carlson. My wife was on the show. We went up to Maine, and I had some time to sit down and chat with him while she was getting her hair done and in the barn. But there just wasn't a lot there. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And I'm not saying he was being fake. It was just he was not very interesting, and it was a little surprising. Where I've met I met Eric Metaxas is actually a friend, and I find him very interesting. I love talking to him.
Oh, I love him.
Or Seth Holhouse, smaller level, but like Seth Holhouse, my favorite guy to be a guest on his podcast. It's honestly, it's like the comfortable seat, first class podcast. Seth is just such a great interviewer. Or even like Jan Jekelnik over at Epic Times.
I was just thinking of him.
Yeah, he was on the trip with me.
Really?
Yeah, I've known Jan for a long time, and he's a good friend. Him and his wife are good friends. But he's a wonderful guy, and he's very interesting, and very, one of those people you enjoy talking to. That's why we're friends. But what I found with a lot of these kind of like influencer-only types, they're really boring when you meet them in person. They just don't have a lot under the hood, and that's really sad. It's like, I'm not a big influencer, but this is not what I do for a living. You know what I mean? I like doing this. That's why I do it. And I love my audience, and I like getting to share this knowledge that I'm packing my head full. Otherwise I'll go nuts. But I have clients during the day. Like, I work during the day, and that's why I'm not always on a schedule. I can't be on one. I've got to take care of the clients and then, take care of this. But that's my thing, and that's really how I identify as an intelligence professional, not as an influencer. And I find the people that I really enjoy Dan Bongino, because what I learned from him is he's got his opinions, which I agree with most of them, but his insider baseball on like how the FBI is actually running from his recent experience is something people should listen to.
Yeah, wasn't he in the Secret Service for
well, he was the last. He was just the deputy director of the FBI. And he's
right, but his background goes back to, I think he spent a number of years.
FBI, he was Secret Service, and before that he was NYPD.
Right, so he's got a lot of background in security issues.
Mm-hmm. And so when he talks about those issues, or he talks about like how things are actually decided in the FBI, how investigations work, everything like that, I listen. I've worked with the FBI, I've never worked in the FBI, and it's like, I agree, and I can tell you everything he's saying is spot on. But people don't know how to separate that from his opinions. Like people that don't like him, they'll be like, "Oh, he's full of shit." Why would he be full of shit? Like about how the FBI is making decisions. And he always makes a comparison. He's like, "You guys want things to happen overnight." He said, "But the Department of Justice is not like the Department of War. We can't just solve a problem with a couple commands. We've got to investigate. We have a constitution. There's a process, and it's slow." Or like, even Ben Shapiro, if he's talking about law and explaining how this law works and why this won't work, I'm going to listen. He's a lawyer, and that's just like if my wife's explaining to me how to get a book published, I'm going to listen. She's done it. And it just blows my mind that people will argue with me about how the intelligence community works, how intel is passed between agencies, how the CIA does operations. People who've never had a clearance, and I don't even humor them. I'm like, okay, dude, if that's what you think, man, I saw that movie too, but okay. And I just don't understand these people taking these stances on knowledge they just have not earned or even know. I mean, have you run across this? Like, I don't even know. We just met, 6 months ago, but it blows my mind, and it seems like it's getting worse. Like, everyone's trying to shout their knowledge and expertise over each other, and most of them don't have any.
No, I agree with you. I think you laid it out there. And I think if there's one thing that's lacking these days, it's critical thinking. I think a lot of this comes down to critical thinking, the ability to be a critical thinker, and that skill has waned. Certainly over the last 5 years, I've definitely noticed it.
It's gone. Yeah. It's you can't even argue with these people. It's a waste of time. Like the like you said, the horseshoe, they've become the very people they've made fun of, the far right. They are now those people who will believe anything because they're believing Max Blumenthal and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. And it's just like, and I think part of that is technology. Like, I think there's so much info out there. It's doing something to people's brains. I said at the beginning of the show, like, Naomi went out of town, so I was off the leash, if you will, about, like, she doesn't give me a hard time about anything. She's like the best wife ever. But when I am, like, she'll never tell me don't do this or don't do it. It's just not our relationship. But she sees I'm on X, like, rage posting. She'll kind of warn me, like, hey, you might not want to do that, because I used to do it to her. She went through her Twitter addiction period where, like, I can't even talk to her because it's like, and I'm like, you got it, come on, seriously. But, like, so being off that, I found myself, like, rage posting and then re-addicted to X. And I'm like, I can't think of a topic. I can't stay on one topic for more than, like, it's like someone had entered my brain and was turning the channels, and I'm like, I need a topic for tonight. I need to write something. And that's when I, like, just shut it all off and take the dog for a walk or, go up on the roof or something, because it's bad. But I think these people that have made their living and have really fixed their identity to the social media world are losing their self to it somehow. It's kind of like Lawnmower Man, you know what I mean? Where it gets sucked in.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to bring him up again as an example, but with Tucker Carlson, if you look at where he was a few years ago to where he is today, it's something. It's something else. I mean, it's crazy.
It really is, and I gotta say though, one thing I really enjoyed about all the people I met in Israel and all the people I met about, they don't care about any of this stuff. They're busy, they're like on the beach. They're always getting together for meals. Like, they got things going on. And actually, it's not just them. It's like, when I go out here in Little Caribbean, it's like, I talk to these guys. They still play chess on the sidewalks here. You could pay them some money if you want to play against them. I don't. But, you bring it up to people. Like, nobody knows who Candace Owens is. Or they've heard of her, but they don't know what she's talking about or why she's in the news. Like, no one cares. Like, they're busy, you know?
I would say that it's interesting in Israel. I would almost say a majority of the people that I know in Israel, if you bring up some issue about politics, they say, I don't even think about politics.
I think that's a majority of people everywhere.
You think so?
Everyone, look, unless it's someone I met through podcasting or social media, and we have a lot of friends who are in the real world that we've met through social media. But unless they're in the MAGA or the Maha circles, people don't want to talk about it. They don't care. You know, my daughter's 28 and works in politics and doesn't want to talk about politics. And, you know, they just don't. It's like, because they're busy. You know, it's like they want to talk about you and they want you to talk about them and what's going on with, you know, this and that, you know, and no one cares. And it's good to see those people because it's like, kind of brings you back to earth. And you got a kayak on your profile, and I know the area because we live apparently weirdly near each other up there in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's the Oblong Valley to be exact, but yeah.
Okay. But it's like when you're out on that
Valley,
when you're out on that kayak, and I'll go to like a Rudd Pond, you know, and it's like,
isn't that great?
It's really great. I'm not thinking about like any of this crap, and that's why I do it. It's like diffusion.
Yeah, when you're out on the water with either kayak, or it's even better if I don't have a sailboat, but I used to go out to the vineyard every summer and rent a sailboat out on Tisbury Great Pond and just going back and forth across the pond. No, sailing is like that too. When you're out there on the water, there's something about the water that's cleansing, that cleanses the soul.
Yep, it does.
And gets you to. But
I used to sail in Monterey when I was at the language school. I got my little skipper's license, and it's fun. My son is an avid sailor too, so I feel you, man. It's definitely
sailing's great.
And I think more people need to get something like that, especially these people who've kind of lost their way in social media because it's a weird world, man. It's like none of this. I mean, just having you as a guest, it's like I could go down a million different roads without a real person to kind of say, yeah, but, you know. And I think a lot of these, if you notice, a lot of these influencers, not Tucker, but a lot of them barely have any guests on. They're just going and going and going. And I think to some degree what you said earlier, do they believe it? Maybe they do. Maybe there's so much in their own world, in their own head, that nothing else matters. You know, there's no... But I think for the people who follow them and hopefully aren't making decisions, but if they are, they really need to really take that walk, take that kayak ride, just take a break, man. You know, because it's too serious to like let yourself get manipulated at this point in time.
Like one of the best questions I think I've ever heard asked of someone on a podcast is, name me a time where you realized you were wrong about something?
That's a great question.
And what was it that you were wrong about? Like, so for people to admit that they were wrong because they thought they knew something a certain way and they found out that it wasn't that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay. That's called learning.
And it makes you look great. You know, Dr. Drew, to his credit, you know, I like Dr. Drew. I've been on a few. He's a friend as well. I'm not name dropping. I'm just saying, like, I know him as a person. But it's like I really respect him because he was wrong about an issue my wife had brought up about vaccine injuries. And he came out and said it multiple times, but not like as an aside. Like he made it very, very clear. Like I was wrong, you know, and I'm not afraid to. And that shows that shows confidence, and that shows that's a solid person. They know who they are. You know, I really respect that. Yeah,
people even like Redfield, right?
Yeah,
Dr. Redfield. You know, he's come around. A lot of people have, you know, they're not. Yeah. One of my favorite TV shows of all time was The Honeymooners. You know The Honeymooners? Mm-hmm. Okay, remember that episode with Ralph Cramden where he has to say, I was wrong? And
I don't. To be honest, I've seen like one episode.
He literally cannot say the word. I was
Right.
He literally can't speak the word. And yeah, if you're wrong about something, okay, you learn and you move on. And
it's what happens too is like, I think when you meet a lot of these people in a social setting in the real world, like we go to these Substack events, like in New York, like she'll get invited because she has a top Substack thing, and a lot of these people can't talk. Like it's so hard to talk to them.
They can write, I guess, but
yeah, but it's like they're better than, I guess. I'm glad there's not a Twitter convention or an X convention. Can you imagine? Like, how would that be? Like, what would people say to each other? Like, would they like be, holding up hand emojis on something? It's just like so bad. It's just like, and I think what makes it worse is it's hard to tell what's a bot and what's a human now. And I think you tailor your language to, people might be tailoring their language to a really badly programmed bot. You know what I mean? Like, well, I guess I'll make it that simple for them. And that's why I never debate on X. People like, well, you won't even answer the question. I'm like, you want to debate? Come on my show. We can debate there. I'm not going to debate by texting.
Right,
right. Stupid. But anyways, brother, it is like 1 a.m. and this is a really great conversation, and I really enjoyed it. So we got to do it again.
Real pleasure.
Yeah, and you come on anytime, man. Anytime.
All right.
And if people, and by the way, where do people find you? What's your social media?
Well, I'm on X.
I already know this stuff. I just need you to say it.
It's Glenn Tamir, and then
let me pop it up. Hold on.
A 4-digit number after it that I haven't memorized.
All right, let me get it for you. I'm just going to pop it up on the screen. There we go. So Glenn. Hey, did you like that tile I made? That's why I was so late. I got
the what?
The show tile. Did you see it? Let me see. Oh yeah, I'll have to send it to you. But all right, so I'm just gonna put your stuff up.
What's
here.
A show tile?
That is the little placeholder picture that you see before a show starts. And I really get into the art of this, or like cold opens, or like the videos. Okay. And I did a really good one. I thought it was really good. Like last week, and it was one of these placeholder 30-minute videos. So like I could turn it on for 30 minutes while I'm getting ready. People have something interesting to watch. I went overboard with that one because it took me like so long to make the video that I hadn't really researched the subject all that well. And so I was like, well, let's take your questions about this. And that's my big tell everyone. If I don't know a topic, I will always tell you. But if someone doesn't know a topic, and they're presenting in front of a crowd, have you ever seen this one, Glenn? They go, well, before we get started, what are your concerns about cybersecurity? Well, that they don't know. Like, they don't know what they're going to say, and they're trying to get ideas. That's an old speaker trick.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Like I had that happen at an American Express conference where this guy, he's a booking agent, he booked me for a cybersecurity thing, and that's not what I do. I don't know much about cybersecurity. I hire people for that. And I get up there, and it's like, oh, I'm on a panel with all these cybersecurity experts. This is going to be really embarrassing. So what I did is I said, someone asked me a question, and I said, that's a great question. What do you guys think? They're like, I'm getting all the answers, and I'm like, then you just repeat the answers, and people are like, man, he's smart. He said exactly what I said. He's smart like me, and that's how that works.
Interesting technique.
Hey, it works.
Exactly, whatever works. So yeah,
I do it here. People could just research, in their keyboards. But that's yeah. Check it out next time you go to a seminar, business type thing. Okay. If if a speaker says that, well, what do you guys think? They don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So is Glenn's.
You mean they don't genuinely want to know the answer to that? That's like always a technique, you think, or?
It depends. I mean, we used to use techniques doing competitive intelligence. So you're trying to do information elicitation. So one technique we'd use is, we don't know the information. We're there to collect it and get it from people who don't know we're collecting off them through manipulation. So we have a variety of techniques. Like we could do a play act example here. Just say, I just asked you a question of, I don't know, what is the, is the new tire on that Toyota model going to be made of that new rubber? Okay, I'm asking you that. And you say it. Okay, you give me the answer, and then I just go. And when people give you the answer, they can't stand the silence, so you just stare at them. And they start talking more, and you get more information. And we used to wear mics so we could collect this. And then the other technique was false disbelief. Like, you're trying to collect on a company that makes teddy bears, and you're at a trade show, and you say, so you guys just put out the new line of the teddy bear with the brown fur and the leather palms. Do you have any other lines that are different than that? They'll say, yeah, we got the plush pink one with the felt palms. And you go, you guys did? No, I've never seen, I can't believe that's true. Like that. I've only seen one line, and that's the brown teddy bear. Well, then they start over explaining to convince you, and you get more detail. And then the third technique, very basic, is repeat the thing back to them that they said, but repeat it incorrectly. Then they'll give you additional information trying to make sure you understand what they said in a correct manner. And then you can combine these, and then they give you the correct information. You do the false disbelief. They give you more information. You do the blank stare. And you just keep toggling through these. You're recording it the whole time, and people just give you tons of information.
Interesting. So you learned a lot of this in your intelligence schooling and all of that?
I learned that kind of really cool stuff in private sector intelligence, competitive intelligence.
Oh, wow.
Just by, we had, a lot of guys aren't even ex-Intel. A lot of these are MBAs and lawyers. I learned interrogation techniques in the Intel world, which it was actually easier to interrogate people than it was to pull information from people at a trade show. It's when you're, and we don't call it
less fun though. Yeah.
Well, we don't call it interrogation. We call it interviews. Like I've done a few where like you're doing the initial interview of a captured person, and that's pretty easy. I mean, like most of them want to talk because they want to get the hell out of there, and they think they're going to. They ain't going anywhere. But it's like sometimes it's bring in a nice hot freaking burger. You eat it in front of them, and they're like slapping their chops. Like, oh, you want half of this? Yeah, I do. Okay, well, tell me all your friends' phone numbers. And they're so hungry with them, they give you anything they want. You don't have to like beat anyone up or hit them or break their fingers. It's like just give them extra cheese. It's like it's not that hard. So, anyways, it's late.
All right.
I should probably go.
Okay, well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on here with you, and
yeah, absolute pleasure.
Thank you for doing what you're doing because you're reaching people, and you have a lot of good things to say, and I really appreciate that you went to Israel and spent time there, and because like we said at the beginning, unless you've been there and talked to the people and seen the space and all that, it's really impossible to have a well-rounded opinion on the situation. And
totally agree. And thank you for the wisdom you've imparted. Lots of good insights that I didn't know. And I'll try to get you a transcription of this. Maybe we could turn it into a fact sheet for people or something. But people need to learn. So do follow Glenn. There he is, right there. This great guy. He's a great follow. You won't be sorry. And interesting. We're just starting, so I look forward to getting to know you better.
Yeah,
and
let's meet on Red Pond one of these days.
Yeah. Do you shoot?
Hoops or what?
No, guns.
I know. I'm just joking.
I'm a short Irish guy. I don't shoot hoops.
No, but my brother does.
Okay. Well, I got guns. You can come over and shoot. And
okay.
And,
well, we'll do that.
I always like out shooting. And by the way, did you figure out who this guy was?
Oh, yeah.
That's my brother-in-law.
Yeah. No, well, I saw the last name, so I figured it was.
The American in the Israeli army.
Yeah, that's a whole that paratrooper tradition where they do this 90-kilometer hike. It's called
It's 90
Masakumta.
kilometers?
I think it's 90 kilometers. It's like
Good
they
Lord,
started.
man.
They started 6 in the morning, and I'll never forget. I went there because my son did that, and you're watching these kids like they're barely able to crawl.
I mean, that's insane.
And they end up in Jerusalem on Ammunition Hill. It's called the Musa Kumta because the Kumta is the cap that they wear. It's the beret. It's the Hebrew word for beret. So that's the ceremony where they get that. And I replied to you. There's a great movie about the paratroopers and the IDF.
That's an insane. I mean, we did a 12-mile was our big one.
Oh no,
90
they start
kilometers.
and they have to
Jeez.
help each other. They, if somebody's dragging it, they're supporting them, so they end up as a unit. So,
You should write that up, man. We could learn more about that.
it's an amazing thing. I think it's 90. Yeah, I think it's 90 kilometers. Yeah, because they start at 6 in the morning and they don't end up, and they go until 5, 6 o'clock is when they get there. It's like straight.
Wow.
Almost like a fast.
It's a ruck march. It's a ruck march.
And it's all uphill because they start down somewhere and they end up in Jerusalem, and it's all uphill.
And that is unforgiving place to be ruck marching too. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing. I go out and see him. We get along great. I gotta say, man, I don't know what's going on with these people that spend a lot of time in Israel. They're kind of ageless. Aaron is looks like almost like he does in those pictures.
I have a lot of great cultural things to talk to you about because I was very plugged into the music world in Israel, especially the ethnic music world, Jews and Arabs playing music together. It's an incredible community.
Yeah, send me a list of music
people.
and stuff too, definitely.
Well, we got to go there for the Sufi festival. That's what I got.
I'll go there for the Sufi festival. I don't know what that is, but I'll go.
It's the most amazing festival.
Let's go.
It's in Israel. It's in the desert. It's great.
I'm in.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, man.
Well, on that note, you have a great night, everyone.
You too.
It's been a pleasure, Glenn. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
I'm out. Take care. You can sign off by yourself. Bye.
I will. All right. Bye-bye. Okay, well, that was Glenn. That turned out to be a huge conversation, really great conversation. And, I'm glad I had him on. So much more to ask him. We could probably go for another few hours, and we will, but just not tonight. Well, look, I know we were going to talk about the ignorant mobs, but we kind of did because you just learned a lot from a guy who spent a lot of time in Israel. I had some, different views than I do on other things, but I could learn so much from that guy. And he's a friend, and I look forward to it. And I think that is how you fight the ignorance of being. You don't want to be part of the mob. You want to be the person who kind of survives that kind of zombie apocalypse with your own knowledge, fighting back against these things. Because now we're in a tough spot. I kind of miss the pandemic right now because we knew who the bad guys were. Now we don't. It seems like people on all sides of us are ignorant, and that makes them dangerous, and manipulated, and that makes them dangerous. So, but the good news is, just like the zombie hordes in the movies, they're easily defeated. You just take a whack at that brain. I mean that figuratively. But what I am saying is, I will put the links to those books we talked about, but just like everything, any topic you're going to talk about, and Glenn said it best, do as much as you can to learn that topic, including going there or meeting that person or reading that book or watching that movie. If you're going to talk about something, make sure you've experienced as much of it as you can and researched it, because that's going to make us all smarter. Because I do feel like maybe it's some tech thing going on, but I feel like the world's getting dumber. So let's not let that happen. Let's not become idiocracy. We got a lot of former friends that I hope come back from dum-dum land. Just with just a little, little effort academically, and, putting away the device and the TV and, just reading and that way they could come here and share with me what they know, and they share with you. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm too tired to make sense. But that was a great conversation. And, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. Thanks for my chat guests who are always there. And by the way, KC, I'll say, because I don't want to mispronounce your name again. I feel like it's war going on. Let me get to your comments. You took the time to be here, so I'll just roll through these. All right, so we talked about that, and then you're saying, and the people had figured out the conservative miss. It's conservative miss. Yeah, exactly. That targets is Trump. I feel like war is going on right now. Was like it always was a dream or something happening. 2019 National Conservatives, and now the ideology of 2030. Yeah, kind of. We'll have to talk more about that. I feel like we're under mass attack right now from all sides. What do you guys think of a military leader? What is policy? Are they George Bush kinds apologies, or that is the Obama? Let me get back to you on these because I just want to make sure I understand them. And Dawn Girl, good to see you. Aloha to you. Always good to have you back. That's my dog in the background. That's Loki. There she is. So, yeah, it's nice to be back, too. Hey, Loki. Loki. There he is. Come here. Come on. All right. Here, dude. Get out of bed and then jump over. Come here. There we go. All right. He always gets to come on at the end of the show. All right, so that's Loki, everyone. This is my buddy while my wife is away, and he's a bit too addicted to me, so that's right. No, he's trying to get at that pork chop that he sees. So anyways, I'll get to all these, like how James Lindsay was good at learning about the left, but he's gone away on the deep end, being paid off by everyone. I'll have to check that out. I met James Lindsay recently, but I don't really follow him, so I'll have to look into what you're saying. No longer tired. Good to see you. Been a while. Being on the water is therapeutic. Absolutely. Hey, doggy. Say hi to everyone. Don't worry. If you don't say hi to everyone, Loki, I won't shock collar you. You don't even have a collar. Good God, man. Don't lick me, though. You can't have the fork. Okay. He's going because he's trying to get at my food. He won't leave. All right. He's insisting on staying. So there we are. Okay, Roscoe. Brian, bra. It's like slang for the brother in Rob. Yeah, no, I know what bra means. Come on. Yeah, I know what bra means. What about Ukraine launching the biggest attack against Russia in 2 years? I seen the headlines. Are these two just going to go at it until they are all dead? Check out my Trump strategy episode. We'll talk about that. Actually, make a note of that because it's a good question, but I can't answer it quickly right now because there's no simple answer, but that is good for us if you think of the grand strategy of Trump as being global energy dominance for the United States, because those strikes are actually dismantling the Russian oil infrastructure which supplies China. But we'll talk about that on that episode. I've got that one written up too. You and Dr. Wolf didn't have a fallout with Shannon Joy, did you? That'd be terrible. No, we didn't have a fallout, Roscoe. She's just, we don't platform her anymore. There were some disagreements on some of the things she was covering. I still consider Shannon a friend. I don't agree with Naomi, certainly. I only speak for myself, by the way. Me and Naomi are not a team when it comes to like our content. We're a team when it comes to marriage, but that's it. Professionally, totally siloed. So what I do does not reflect on her, and she doesn't agree with everything I do, in terms of social media and everything, but that's okay. But no, Shannon's great. Look, I really like Shannon. We know each other. I don't agree with a lot of stuff she says, and that's okay. That's okay. Blue Wolf 2000, good to see you. I was looking for your profile today, actually, so it's good to see you. Dawn Girl saying, "Oh." Dawn Girl says, "Hi, Loki." All right, come here, buddy. There he is. This dog loves me. Here, let me move the mic. He is like literally the cutest dog. This dog's awesome. He is awesome. I taught him how to box too. So that's Loki. Yes, he's named after Thor's brother, not low key. Cool, yeah. No one agrees with everyone. Yeah, exactly, and that's important to state. Like, it's okay. That's normal human interaction. So, yeah, and I always, I might get mad sometimes or agitated, but I always try not to be mean. I'm mean to some people, just not my friends. Usually the bots. But yeah, no falling out, nothing like that. And yeah, but I did wish she tapped out the other night on that Zionism being a religion thing. That wasn't a great one. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go. It's so late, I can barely think. We will revisit the original topic of this show on the next episode, and we'll talk to you then. So have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to investigate everything. And if you don't know, you don't know, but you can learn. So I'll talk to you soon, and see you next time.